you wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
President Obama, are you fracking kidding me?
Reopen the EPA study. Texas, Wyoming, and Pennsylvania.
Fracking pollutes our oceans.
Fracking poisons our water.
Fracking makes climate change worse.
Fracking relies on toxic chemicals that cause cancer.
Ban fracking now.
Ban fracking now.
Go on. Ban it.
Ban fracking now.
Please.
All right, friends and neighbors, good show so far. A little time out here for a most important message. And I got one big word for you today. Please, please, please make your pledge to Free Speech TV. Look, we're really frustrated. I'm feeling frustrated because we're toward the end of our pledge drive and just nowhere near the goal where we've got to be. And I know you don't want that to happen. I know you don't want Free Speech TV to run out of gas. We know you love Free Speech TV, but we're not feeling that love, not seeing it. We're just nowhere close to our goal, not hitting the mark. So I ask you to please don't put it off any longer. Step up to the plate. Make your pledge as generously as you can to help us meet our goal. Remember, our goal for every show here on the Bill Press Show is $1,500. Hey, that's not that much. Think about it. It's 15 of you. If 15 of you give $100, we're there. 30 of you can give $50, we're there. Or think of it this way, the price of one night out for dinner for the two of you, you got a whole year of the great programming on Free Speech TV. But it really, really is urgent because, once again, you are Free Speech TV. We are, you are, there ain't nobody else. There's no government funding we can count on, no foundation funding, no corporate funding, no Koch brothers funding. It's just the partnership that we've got, and we've really got to keep that going. And we'll try to make it worth your while, just to give you a little maybe incentive to help us out today. Remember our premiums this time. If for $60, we'll send you this, for your one-time pledge for $60, this stamp, not to be used for bribing politicians. You can have a lot of fun with that with your friends. $120 can help us with that. We'll send you a copy of John Nichols' book, Dollarocracy, about all the evil of money in politics and how we get rid of it. For $240, you get the stamp and the book. And for $360, you get the stamp. Can't be used for bribing politicians. Dollarocracy by John Nichols and a Free Speech TV baseball cap. If you can help with $1,000, a real special treat, come to Washington, see the monuments, get to the White House, get to the Capitol, and most importantly, Carol and I will take you out to dinner at one of our great restaurants on Capitol Hill, and then invite you in to join the crew the next morning, meet the team, have some district donuts, and enjoy the show. But the most important thing is we need your help to make your pledge as generously as you can. We know not everybody can do all the same, but whatever you can, your one-time pledge for Free Speech TV. Don't be a freeloader. Don't be just a couch potato. If you enjoy the programming, and we know you do, then do your share to keep Free Speech TV on the air and keep me and Stephanie Miller and Tom Hartman and Amy Goodman and David Packman and all the rest of the great Free Speech TV hosts in your home every single day. Please help Please do it today. You know the number, 877-378-8669, or just go to freespeech.org. Please help, and we thank you.
Doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
More American troops to Iraq. Is this starting to sound familiar? Hey, hello, everybody. Hello, hello. Great to see you. Thursday, June 11, if you can believe it. Here we are on The Bill Press Show with all of you. Good to have you on board today, and we are happy to join you from our studio on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., to your home, your office, your car, your place of work, whatever. Thank you for being part of the program. And fasten your seatbelts as we jump into the fast-moving news of the day, whether it's a big vote expected tomorrow and the last-minute jockeying for votes here on the Trade Promotion Authority that President Obama wants, whether it's still the search for the escaped murderers up in New York State, or out on the campaign trail with Lindsey Graham telling Sean Hannity basically to shut up. Lindsey, this is the guy who's going to have a rotating first lady, remember. Yes.
That's right.
It's a fun time to be alive and fun time to be here with you to talk about it all on this Thursday. So remember, you join the conversation easily by giving us a call out there on your local progressive talk radio station nationwide. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS. Easy number to remember. And also, you can send us your comments if it's better for you and more, lazier. Send it on Twitter at BP Show or on Facebook. You don't have to pick up the phone. Just pick up your cell phone, your iPad or whatever. On Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. That having been said, meet the team here, Peter Ogburn and Elisa Murphy.
Hello, Bill.
What do you say?
Happy Thursday.
Yes, with Jamie Benson here, ready to take your calls at 866-55-PRESS and Cyprian Bolding. Up early with the lights on, the cameras on, and cameras running, and gets us out there on Free Speech TV, nationwide and worldwide on our video stream, TawkrTV. So we're going to start off with Jeb Bush and some comments that have come to that have surfaced about comments he made about unwed mothers. But it's interesting because I was wondering, Jeb Bush is in Europe.
He is. Yeah, he sure is.
With his wife, and they're traveling around Europe. Now, we know that none of these Republican candidates have any foreign policy experience, except maybe you could say Lindsey Graham does because of committees he served on in the Senate. But they all do a foreign trip. Usually they go to Israel, right, because they want to establish their bona fides, that their support for Israel. But Jeb Bush is in Europe, and I was wondering, what the hell is he doing in Europe? Why Europe, right? Well, Conan O'Brien figured it out.
What's going on? Meanwhile, Jeb Bush, he's campaigning as well. Jeb Bush is taking his presidential campaign on a tour of Europe. Yes, he's touring Europe. That's right. He's telling Europeans, I like you guys because you're comfortable having the same family in charge for centuries. Which I thought was
Very true.
You know,
Anyone understands.
There's identification there. Absolutely, yeah. A big Thursday with you among our other great guests, Susan Paige, Washington Bureau Chief for USA Today, Congressman Mark Pocan from Wisconsin, Madison, Wisconsin, and she is back, Sister Simone Campbell, the head of the Nuns on the Bus. Yeah, and what is up with Jeb Bush? But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. Trouble for rapper Rick Ross. He was in Atlanta when police officers noticed that he was driving with tinted windows, which is something that you cannot do, and also flies directly in the advice that Rick Ross gave his listeners when he said no tints on that pretty-ass Bentley. But the cops saw the tints on the windows, pulled him over, and turns out he was smoking marijuana inside.
Oh, that too. Oh, man.
Poor
the one
Rose.
reason you like tinted windows.
That's right. That's why you get tinted windows. Officers found a misdemeanor amount of marijuana in his car. So we will keep you up to date on what happens to Rose next. His real name is William Leonard Roberts II. He's being booked in the Fayette County Jail. Bond amount will be set by the court, and he will answer to the charges at a later date.
That's it. Now we know why he got those tinted windows.
Poor Rick Ross.
Yeah.
On Facebook, there are, you can like celebrity pages, right? You like a celebrity, right? Like Justin Bieber, President Obama for that matter. But who are the top 10 most popular celebrities on Facebook? Can you guess number one? Remember, I'll give you a hint.
No.
I'll give you a hint. Well, no, but I'll give you a hint. Remember,
good guess.
Remember, Facebook is international. Taylor Swift, by the way, not even in the top 10, which surprised me. I think it should be in the top 10. Number one, any other guesses?
Baby George.
Baby George is very close, I'm sure.
Beyonce?
Beyonce, not even on the list. Number one is Cristiano Ronaldo, the soccer player. Yes, Cristiano has 103.5 million likes. Second is Shakira, followed by Vin Diesel.
How about my cousin Kristen Press?
Kristen Press, not on the list. Also on the list, number 6 is Lionel Messi. So 2 soccer players in the top 6.
Yeah.
So people,
all much very liked, I think, too, because of the photos these people may have on their pages.
Cristiano Ronaldo known for taking his shirt off, and So that's what people like. And we've talked a couple of times.
Should we do it?
Yeah.
Keep your shirt
Let's
on.
boost it.
Jesus. Oh, Lord have mercy. We've talked about cat cafes.
Yes.
Cat cafes. Yeah. Well, the one that's coming to Washington is going to be opening in a little over a week, June 20th in Georgetown. Crumbs and Whiskers.
Oh, that's so cute.
No, it's not. There's nothing cute about this at all. No, it's not. The owner says that they're going to have some pre-grand opening. Probably going to be a big grand opening. There are going to be 24 cats in residence at all times. Now, the owner says all cats have been vetted and vaccinated by their partner, Washington Humane Society. And so if you want to go and work and have coffee or pastry or whatever, surrounded
Can you
by,
adopt one of the
other
cats?
people's cats. I'm not sure if that's to be the case here. In other cat cafes, you can.
Well, can you? Okay, or can you take your cat? Like,
No.
See, that's...
They say don't bring your cat. They say don't bring your cat.
See, that's too bad.
No.
No, it's...
You always want to put your cat on a leash and take it with you.
Imagine if you take your cat to a place filled with 24 other cats.
JJ would behave. I would take JJ, except I'm not going to go all the way to Georgetown. I'll wait till they...
Oh, that's what's keeping you from going to a cat cafe?
Yeah.
The location?
Yeah.
JJ likes field trips, I've heard.
He does.
There's no way in hell I'm going to go into a cat cafe. It's just not happening. And I like cats.
Yeah, but open it in Georgetown. I mean, come on, that's just too...
Hard pass.
Yeah,
No, thank you.
Okay, you got it. All right, yes, indeed. Front page story in the Washington Post this morning about the Bush campaign. I think we've all sort of been feeling this, watching. Look, the guy certainly has a head start, right? When his name is Bush, so he's got a lot of name ID starting out. He's former governor of Florida. He's got some executive experience. He is known as the smartest of the Bush brothers. It's just that...
To be fair, that's not saying much.
Well, okay. But, you know, in that context, smartest of the Bush brothers, and the one that the family had destined to sort of move ahead, become governor, and become president, except, you know, something happened along the way. And we got the wrong one. They reached into the box and picked the wrong puppy out of the litter to be president. But then, of course, he's the brother of former president and son of former president. So he's got a lot going for him right out of the gate. And yet Jeb Bush hasn't really wowed everybody with his sort of starting off campaign so far. Which gets to and over the weekend, you probably heard the last couple of days, big shakeup in his campaign. He goes off to Europe, and while he's gone, he dumps his campaign manager, replaces the campaign manager, big shakeup in the staff. And by the way, that happens with like every single campaign has that kind of a shakeup. It's not that unusual. But this one happened before the campaign got even started, which gets to the Washington Post story saying that the wheels are coming off the Jeb Bush campaign before he's even a candidate. That's what's a little unusual about this. And one thing that didn't help is yesterday, Laura Bassett, who is our good friend from Huffington Post, unearthed some pretty shocking language, I find. Get this, from a book that Governor Bush wrote back in 1995, his book called Profiles in Character, where he lashes out at the irresponsible behavior of women who would have a child out of wedlock, at single moms. And he suggests that the answer is we have to shame them, publicly shame them. That's how we're going to stop this. I mean, listen to this language. And by the way, okay, this is 1995. That's not so long ago, right?
No.
I mean, he was an adult man. He was governor of Florida, right? This is not something he wrote when he was like in high school or maybe even in college. And here's what he says. Here's how we prevent these pregnancies out of wedlock. Out of wedlock, I love that phrase. Public humiliation. Quoting Jeb Bush. One of the reasons more young women are giving birth out of wedlock and more young men are walking away from their paternal obligations is that there is no longer a stigma attached to this behavior. No reason to feel shame. Many of these young women and young men look around and see their friends engaged in the same irresponsible conduct. Their parents and neighbors have become ineffective at attaching some sense of ridicule to this behavior. There was a time when neighbors and communities would frown on out-of-wedlock births, and when public condemnation was enough of a stimulus for one to be careful. Public condemnation. Yes. God. We would frown on it. We would shame them. As we said yesterday, we would make them wear a scarlet letter. There we go, right? I mean, it's the same thinking. Now, that's bad enough, that language in a book, right? But that's not all that he did. When he was governor of Florida, he allowed a bill to become law. He didn't veto it. He didn't sign it, but he didn't veto it. And this was in, this century, 2001, legislation that, get this, required any woman who wanted to put her child up for adoption, any single woman, to take out an ad in a newspaper listing her name and description, as well as the name and description of each possible father, detailing all of her sexual history over the past year, and, get this, the locations where the baby could have been conceived. So the woman had to go to a local newspaper, pay for an ad in which she described in that ad all of her sexual history. It doesn't say for how long, but certainly for the last year, let's say, right, that resulted in this pregnancy, that might have resulted in this pregnancy. It's unbelievable prying and snooping and embarrassment. I mean, it's just ridiculous to think that. And he let this bill become law without his signature. And guess what? Hello. The result was not more unwanted pregnancies. The result was more abortions. Because the women didn't want to go through this.
Who in the world would want to go through with that?
Right.
What woman would want to go through with that humiliation?
Yeah. I'm not going to have this baby and put it up for adoption if I got to do that.
When you're trying to put it up for adoption, and that's what you have to go through, that's tormenting.
And this
it really
by the way,
is.
the whole adoption issue is something that conservative Republicans say is the alternative to getting abortion, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you'd think that if they wanted to make that a reality, they would do everything in their power to not shame somebody in that way. What is with the invasion of privacy of women with this party? With the invasive ultrasounds and the putting up your sexual history in a local ad you buy in a newspaper is one of the weirdest kinks I've ever heard any politician ever have.
And I might point out there was no requirement under this law for any man in Florida to publish his sexual history.
That's weird.
And all the women that he may have gotten pregnant over the last year. No. Just the women again. Just absolutely disgusting. It tells you a lot. Again, this is not, I keep coming back to this. This is not ancient history with Jeb Bush. Don't let them get away with that. This is 1995 for the book. This is 2001 for this law. It is now the law. And I think it was repealed later after he left. But
he allowed this to happen.
It's his law. He allowed it to happen. What's to tell you about Jeb Bush? And by the way, when we come back, how exactly, if you're going to shame them, public humiliation, if you don't require them to wear the scarlet letter, how exactly do we do it?
Yeah.
What's that mean? 866-55-PRESS.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, friends and neighbors, good show so far. A little time out here for most important message. And I got one big word for you today. Please make your pledge to Free Speech TV. Look, we're really frustrated. I'm feeling frustrated because we're toward the end of our pledge drive and just nowhere near the goal where we've got to be. And I know you don't want that to happen. I know you don't want Free Speech TV to run out of gas. We know you love Free Speech TV, but we're not feeling that love, not seeing it. We're just nowhere close to our goal, not hitting the mark. So I ask you to please don't put it off any longer. step up to the plate, make your pledge as generously as you can to help us meet our goal. Remember, our goal for every show here on the Bill Press Show is $1,500. Hey, that's not that much. Think about it. It's 15 of you. If 15 of you give $100, we're there. 30 of you can give $50, we're there. Or think of it this way, the price of one night out for dinner for 2 of you, you got a whole year of the great programming on Free Speech TV. But it really, really is urgent because, once again, you are Free Speech TV. We are, you are, there ain't nobody else. There's no government funding we can count on, no foundation funding, no corporate funding, no Koch brothers funding. It's just the partnership that we've got, and we've really got to keep that going. And we'll try to make it worth your while. Just to give you a little maybe incentive to help us out today. Remember our premiums this time. If for $60, we'll send you this for your one-time pledge of $60. This stamp, not to be used for bribing politicians. You can have a lot of fun with that with your friends. $120 if you help us with that. We'll send you a copy of John Nichols' book, Dollarocracy, about all the evil of money in politics and how we get rid of it. For $240, you get the stamp and the book. And for $360, you get the stamp. Can't be used for bribing politicians. Dollarocracy by John Nichols and a Free Speech TV baseball cap. If you can help with $1,000, a real special treat, come to Washington, see the monuments, get to the White House, get to the Capitol, and most importantly, Carol and I will take you out to dinner at one of our great restaurants on Capitol Hill, and then invite you in to join the crew the next morning, meet the team, have some district donuts, and enjoy the show. But the most important thing is we need your help to make your pledge as generously as you can. We know not everybody can do all the same, but whatever you can, your one-time pledge for Free Speech TV. Don't be a freeloader. Don't be just a couch potato. If you enjoy the program, and we know you do, then do your share to keep Free Speech TV on the air and keep me and Stephanie Miller and Tom Hartman and Amy Goodman and David Packman and all the rest of the great Free Speech TV hosts in your home every single day. Please help. Please do it today. You know the number, 877-378-8669, or just go to freespeech.org. Please help, and we thank you.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Jeb Bush declares war on single women. This is a good way to start your campaign, huh? Don't you think?
Yeah, sure.
866-55-PRESS. By the way, I have to say, I'd be willing to say that every single one of us and every single one of you listening and watching today has a single mom in your family. And you know and you believe, you know that they're doing a great job raising their kids. I mean, I could think of so many people.
Jobs I could possibly think of.
Right. I just, one person just pops into my head. Carol Lee is a really good friend of mine. She is the new president of the White House Correspondents Association, one of the best reporters in the country for Wall Street Journal, right? And she, as a young woman of that age, wanted to have a kid, had not met the right guy, whatever. She's got a wonderful son, and she does an incredible job for the Wall Street Journal and leading now the White House Correspondents Association, a very highly respected journalist in this town. What? She should have to take out an ad in the Wall Street Journal detailing her sexual history?
Shame on her.
Yeah. Paul in Lucerne, California. Hey, Paul.
Hey, how's it going, Bill?
All right, what do you think?
Well, if we're going to talk about Jeb Bush, my favorite thing Jeb Bush did was when he took the felon list from Texas and kicked off people with the same name in Florida to help his brother win the 2000 election.
Yeah, we remember. We remember the recount. We also remember the purge. I think that's what you're getting to, where they purged the voting lists in Florida under Governor Jeb Bush. I got to tell you, the more this is like a big closet full of juicy stuff. The more they look into his record as governor, the more they're going to find. But let's start out. Let's talk about this thing, this attack on single moms.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, folks, just a little time out. Hope you're enjoying the show today. A little time out here to tell you again and get your about Free Speech TV and get your help. And, you know, we reach out to you, all of our viewers around the country during these pledge drives, ask you to help. And we're so grateful when you do. And it's very rare, though. We get a chance to thank one of you actually in person. So we welcome to the show today and to our studio Craig Tepfer, all the way from Chelsea, Michigan, a regular Free Speech viewer and a very generous contributor to Free Speech. Craig, it's good to see you.
It's good to be here, Bill.
Thank you for coming in all the way from Chelsea, Michigan. I know last year we met because you were made a $1,000 pledge. You and your daughter came. Carol and I, we all went out to dinner together, had a good time. That was a lot of fun.
Had a great time.
Right. And it's good to see you back. So tell us again, why do you really like Free Speech TV?
Free speech to me is the dream come true. It's television without commercials, plain and simple.
Yeah. And you like the people and obviously in the content on Free Speech?
All of the regular programs plus all of the special programs you can't find anyplace else on the television set.
It's the one progressive television channel people don't realize is maybe in the country, right? 24/7, where you can always count on going there and hearing good stuff from a progressive point of view.
This is true. It's 24 hours a day. All of the programs are great to watch, intellectually stimulating, and have great progressive concepts.
Well, we wouldn't be here without people like you, and I want to thank you again personally. And you're back today because you want to make another pledge and challenge people to meet it, right?
That's right. I would like to pledge a half of my net worth, 0.5% of my net worth, to match the Koch brothers' donation to the GOP. So I am committing $500.
Great.
To the Free Speech TV, and hope that your listeners can match that.
I think that's a great challenge. All right, so there you go. There's $500 from Craig Tepfer today. You can match that yourself, or a couple of you, 2 or 3 of you, get together, get your family members together, and match this pledge so Craig doesn't feel alone. And we have the help we need on Free Speech to get going. And, of course, you know the way to do so, Craig, you certainly do, is give us a call at 877-378-8669. Number again, 877-378-8669. Or just go to freespeech.org, freespeech.org. And, Craig, the other thing I want to congratulate you on, you are a pioneer in solar energy. I know you have a solar-powered car right now. So you're doing so many great things. You know,
I've been doing this for most of my life, wind and solar energy, and supporting environmental groups and organizations that promote solar energy.
Well, so good of you to do that, and so good of you to come in. And thanks again for your help for Free Speech TV. And match Craig Tepfer's $500 grant. Thank you, Craig.
It's so important. Thank you.
Before now, it's been difficult for criminals like us to know which states have loose gun laws. How would a criminal like me know which states permit me to carry loaded guns in their amusement parks, golf courses, or beaches?
I have some violent friends. We all wear leather jackets and scream at women. And we want to find out which states we can buy and sell guns easily.
CrimAdvisor.com. That's the site to find out where it's easiest for felons and fugitives to buy, carry, and even traffic guns.
That's why I love Arizona, where I can go see the beautiful Grand Canyon and carry a loaded gun without even having to get a background check.
You would fail that background check.
I'm sure of it. Now, what about a road trip? What states can I go to fill my trunk with guns and take it back home for my even more dangerous friends?
Crime Advisor has a list for that.
That's so unreasonable.
Our traffickers' top 10.
Nevada! What happens in Vegas may have to stay in Vegas, but your guns don't. Bring them over to California and sell them.
The market up there is hungry for guns.
I understand that CrimAdvisor.com will tell me which states really cater to us criminals and creeps, but what about the states where we're not so welcome? The ones that don't get us?
I don't even like saying the name of these states, but California, Connecticut, Maryland, and New York all have laws to keep guns out of the hands of people like us.
I want to shoot California so bad.
Boo, California.
Boo, go home. Wow. CrimAdvisor.com has all this information?
Sure does.
CrimAdvisor.com. Plan your perfect getaway. Oh, like TripAdvisor.
Oh.
Minutes after the hour, talking about Jeb Bush. The wheels are coming off the wagon here before the campaign even is launched. Jeb Bush expected to announce when he comes back from Europe. But as the Washington Post details, front page story this morning, by saying the wheels are coming off, meaning the campaign bragged it was going to raise $100 million in the first half of 2015. They're definitely going to fall short of that. And, of course, they were bragging about his status as the front runner, just way out ahead of anybody else on the Republican side. And now he's down to like one of five candidates. Five-way tie, right? So he's been losing ground on every front. And this latest story is not going to help. Want your comments on his comments about unwed mothers. He says we have to shame them, humiliate them, embarrass them, because all they reflect is irresponsible behavior. And he once allowed a law, became the law in Florida, thanks to him, that required any unwed mom who had a baby, wanted to put that baby up for adoption, to take out an ad in the local paper detailing her sexual history for the last year or so. Men were not required to do so. Women were required to do so. And yes, by the way, I know what you're asking. Of course they made an exception for rape. Women who'd been raped and therefore had the baby, right? No. No exception for rape. No. The author of the woman who authored this law said, quote, "You cannot just allow somebody to say they were raped and use that as an excuse."
Holy cow.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
Yes, Jeb Bush. Know who you're voting for before you think he could make it.
People use the phrase "war on women."
Yeah.
And some people say, "Oh, well, that's too far to say
you're
that Republicans are
making
waging war on
If
women."
this isn't a war on women, I don't know what is. Peter.
By the way, we're on Twitter at BP Show, Please join the conversation there. Lots of comments there. KG says, Jeb Bush should be required to wear a scarlet W to remind people that he's the brother of George W. Bush.
I like that.
Isn't that good?
That. Yeah, right.
Isn't that good?
Mm-hmm.
Jessica says, if this was the case, I want to know Jeb Bush's sexual history. Wait, on second thought, no, I don't want to know Jeb Bush's sexual history. And then Phil says, how did
No, I don't either, but I get her point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
And Phil says, how did shaming single moms work out for Dan Quayle? Not so great. Find us on Twitter at BP Show.
Yeah. What was the name of the actress?
Murphy Brown.
Murphy Brown. How could I
who played
forget?
Murphy Brown. Yeah,
absolutely right.
She had a baby on the TV show as an unwed mother, and
yeah.
What a terrible role model for people, according to Dan Quayle.
All right, 866-55-PRESS. What does this tell you about Jeb Bush and his character? I love the fact he first made this point in his book, Profiles in Character. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, what's to say about his character? Dave is in Dayton, Ohio. Hello, Dave.
Good morning, Bill.
What do you think?
My daughter is a single mother, and I'm helping her raise my grandson. But last night I was watching Megyn Kelly, and her and Dana Perello were trying to say that that's not what he meant in his book.
Well, when you read it, it's pretty clear. Go ahead, Dave.
Head exploded.
Yeah, I'm sure. What did they think he was saying?
I'm not kidding. My head exploded.
His head literally exploded.
Right. Okay.
Get this man some
Bill.
duct tape to put his head back together.
All right.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, Dave. No, thank you. Yeah, I was just going to say, what we need now, right, is some Republican. How can Republican women defend that? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, this is a time when, forget about your party. The women ought to just say, hey, listen, knock it off, right? You don't know what the hell you're talking about. This is just outrageous. And instead, I didn't see this last night. Dave, may I say, the first mistake you made was watching Megyn Kelly, was watching Fox News, right? Okay, what did you expect? But we ought to try to find that. If there's a Megyn Kelly and Dana Perello, here are two leading Republican women, and they're going to defend this and say, oh, that's not what he meant. If he had made this comment just, I don't know, like haphazardly in conversation somewhere in a bar, and they thought this is what, and then he could come out and say, no, that's what I meant. What I meant was this. He said this in a book.
Yeah.
This was published. These words were written and rewritten and edited and reviewed. Look, I've written 6 books. I know nothing goes in a final book that you don't personally approve over and over and over again, number one. And then this was a bill that became law without his signature, but governor knows you got 3 ways of going. You sign it, you veto it, or you let it become law without your signature, which is a cowardly way of doing it, but it still becomes law.
You let it happen.
So this is not, they can't say he didn't mean this.
Even if you take the Megyn Kelly and the Dana Perello argument on its face, right? Even if you disagree with that, it still shows terrible leadership on his part, right? Like, okay, he didn't write that law. He did say it in his book, but he didn't write that law. Well, he let it happen.
Yeah.
On his watch.
You know what it is?
So at best, it's bad leadership.
It's mean.
Yeah, it's mean.
It's mean.
It's cruel.
It's cruel. Absolutely. Out in Chicago on the great WCPT early this morning. Kevin, what's up?
Hey, Bill. How are you, man?
Hi, Kevin.
Hey, it's just, if it wasn't so sick, it'd be comical. But, I mean, another typical example of the gross hypocrisy, the party that hates regulation and telling people what to do, but fits right in with their plan.
Good point.
Let's tell women how to control their bodies. And the bottom line, what it really shows is the aging, antiquated, cracker Republicans. They're just afraid of women. They fear them because of their intelligence, of their ability to reason, to do things way better than they do, and they can't stand that. And as far as Megyn Kelly, man, you know what? I hate to say anything bad about women, but that bitch is a fraud.
Oh, no, okay, all right, Kevin, you have to go that far. But look, she's a talented journalist. I really disagree with her point of view, but she is a talented journalist. You got to admit that. But this is a time when Republican women, and I haven't heard, for example, what Laura Ingraham has to say about this, right? This is a time for them. And how about Carly Fiorina?
Yeah. That's right. That's right. We've got a Republican woman running for president.
Yeah. This is a time when they ought to stand up and say, oh, no. As a party, we should not be going here. This is not who we are, right? We are better than this. We are bigger than this. And again, I come back to the single women that I know in my family, one of my nieces, love her to death, right? And she had a little child out of wedlock, and then she's got married. She said, I think 2 more or 3 more, whatever, and they're a great family. She's done a great job raising her kids. And, I'm going to require her to take out an ad in the local paper up in Delaware and detail her sexual history because she decides to have this child rather than having an abortion?
Yeah.
So I think Lisa made that point earlier. That's always been the Republican way. No, don't have an abortion. Put your baby up for adoption.
Yeah, right.
Well, now Jeb Bush is saying, oh, no. If you're going to put your baby up for adoption, we want to know every time you jumped in a sack with anybody over the last year. Yeah.
The number of men who walk out on pregnancies for the women that they impregnated is an epidemic.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine a politician out there running on a platform of, we want to take a really bad situation that you're in and make it so much worse.
I'd take on an ad. I'd buy an ad in the paper if I were a woman in Florida, and I'd say, none of your damn business.
That's right.
Seriously, I mean, just the idea that someone would look at you as a single mother and then judge you for how you got there is just such an antiquated notion. But, I mean, it exists.
It's just downright mean, ugly, and cruel.
Yeah.
Shame on you. Yeah. No, but shame somebody. Shame Jeb Bush. We'll talk more about this, but we got to move along here right now. Susan Paige is standing by. She's the Washington bureau chief of USA Today and co-host of Capitol Download here on WUSA 9 in Washington, D.C. We'll be right back with Susan. All right, friends and neighbors, good show so far. Little time out here for a most important message, and I got one big word for you today. Please, please, please make your pledge to Free Speech TV. Look, we're really frustrated. I'm feeling frustrated because we're toward the end of our pledge drive and just nowhere near the goal where we've got to be. And I know you don't want that to happen. I know you don't want Free Speech TV to run out of gas. We know you love Free Speech TV, but we're not feeling that love, not seeing it. We're just nowhere close to our goal, not hitting the mark. So I ask you to please don't put it off any longer. Step up to the plate. Make your pledge as generously as you can to help us meet our goal. Remember, our goal for every show here on the Bill Press Show is $1,500. Hey, that's not that much. Think about it. It's 15 of you. If 15 of you give $100, we're there. 30 of you can give $50, we're there. Or think of it this way, the price of one night out for dinner for the two of you, you got a whole year of the great programming on Free Speech TV. But it really, really is urgent because, once again, you are Free Speech TV. We are, you are, there ain't nobody else. There's no government funding we can count on, no foundation funding, no corporate funding, no Koch brothers funding. It's just the partnership that we've got, and we've really got to keep that going. And we'll try to make it worth your while, just to give you a little maybe incentive to help us out today. Remember our premiums this time. If for $60, we'll send you this, for your one-time pledge of $60, this stamp, not to be used for bribing politicians. You can have a lot of fun with that with your friends. $120 can help us with that. We'll send you a copy of John Nichols' book, Dollarocracy, about all the evil of money in politics and how we get rid of it. For $240, you get the stamp and the book. And for $360, you get the stamp. Can't be used for bribing politicians. Dollarocracy by John Nichols, and a Free Speech TV baseball cap. If you can help with $1,000, a real special treat, come to Washington, see the monuments, get to the White House, get to the Capitol, and most importantly, Carol and I will take you out to dinner at one of our great restaurants on Capitol Hill, and then invite you in to join the crew the next morning, meet the team, have some district donuts, and enjoy the show. But the most important thing is we need your help to make your pledge as generously as you can. We know not everybody can do all the same, but whatever you can, your one-time pledge for Free Speech TV. Don't be a freeloader. Don't be just a couch potato. If you enjoy the program, and we know you do, then do your share to keep Free Speech TV on the air and keep me and Stephanie Miller and Tom Hartman and Amy Goodman and David Packman and all the rest of the great Free Speech TV hosts in your home every single day. Please help. Please do it today. You know the number, 877-378-8669, or just go to freespeech.org. Please help, and we thank you.
the most valuable morning radio show, according to The Nation magazine. This is The Bill Press Show.
12 minutes before the top of the hour, it is time to welcome Susan Paige to the program, Washington Bureau Chief for USA Today, and co-host of Capital Download every Sunday, 8:30 a.m. on WUSA 9. But Peter, I think we ought to change things. There's so much to talk to Susan about every week. I think we should have Susan in for all 3 hours on Thursday.
Yeah, come on, Susan. Come on down. We'll have you in for
absolutely. I'll put that on. I'll put on my thinking hat before I say no.
Hi, Susan. How are you?
Hey, Bill. Great to be with you.
So we're sending 450 more troops to Iraq, huh?
This is going to make all the difference.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
3,100 already there, but this is going to now the strategy. Which we have or don't have is really going to work, right?
You know, it's I think was mystifying to a lot of us that President Obama said that. Weren't you surprised when he said we don't have a full strategy yet?
I fell off my chair.
Yeah, and I don't understand. It's the second time he said essentially the same thing, and I don't have an explanation for that.
No, I don't either. I mean, the first time was 10 months ago. You would think 10 months later, right, he wouldn't say, we still don't have a strategy after we've been bombing them for 10 months.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's a really tough call. It's a difficult issue. It's a strategy that may keep changing, but you'd think we'd have one by now.
Well, and the idea that, we're just sending advisors, it has such echoes of Vietnam.
Well, and then we're sending just a few advisors. I mean, the buildup in Vietnam, it's hard to imagine President Obama will sign up for that, but the very small number of advisors we're sending back in the wake of the huge commitment of U.S. forces that didn't do the job, it's just hard to see that this is going to turn things around.
But, the way it happened then, right, is Kennedy, first of all, inherited advisors on the ground in Vietnam that Eisenhower had sent, right? So then he starts sending troops, and then JFK. Then LBJ. It's just, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is either, but I know this strategy is not working. Susan, is the president's strategy to get the trade bill working? Are we going to see a vote tomorrow?
The reporting I see indicates there may well be a vote tomorrow, and if they have a vote, it means they think they have the votes.
Right.
Because if we don't have a vote tomorrow, it means they're still working on twisting arms. But, I think that the Republicans are pretty optimistic that this is going to get over the finish line, which is going to be a huge achievement for them and President Obama and a real defeat for the progressives, the unions who have made this a big cause.
No, they have, of course, and it's vice versa, right? If it doesn't work, it's a big defeat for President Obama. But, the president may get this. He will get it at the price of alienating, I don't know whether permanently alienating, but certainly pissing off a lot of his fellow Democrats.
But when you're in the last 2 years of your second term as president, you are, I think, less concerned about ticking off your natural allies because there are just a few things you're trying to get done. Yeah. Bigger problem, it seems to me, in political terms, for Hillary Clinton, who hasn't yet taken a position on the trade deal who is going to be under enormous pressure going both ways.
Yeah, indeed. And thank you for using the phrase ticking off, by the way.
Susan, I'm sorry that Bill used such a potty mouth.
I should have come up with
We're pretty delicate flowers here. So.
Now, I'm sure you saw the Washington Post story this morning on. Well, although I always assume that you've read everything I've read by this time in the morning. But front page Washington Post story: the wheels coming off the Jeb Bush campaign before it even was launched. Right? Pretty damaging story, I thought.
Here's what we've seen happen with Jeb Bush. He has never been, and this has happened to other campaigns. He never looked better than the day he announced he was exploring the possibility of running, and the next 6 months have been shown how hard it is to run for president. I think it's a little early to be very conclusive about somebody's catastrophically damaged, but it's not been the 6 months he hoped to have.
No,
and the money machine that was supposed to be his big ace in the hole, that may not be quite as strong as they think. So he's got a lot to prove once he formally announces his campaign on Monday.
Now, very excited that this week you were able to interview Senator Bernie Sanders, presidential candidate Bernie Sanders. And what did he say about running against Hillary Clinton?
Well, he said he wasn't running against Hillary Clinton. And I said, well, you are running against Hillary Clinton. And he said, where is Hillary Clinton on a series of big issues that I've taken stands on, and she hasn't? And he mentioned the trade deal. He mentioned the Keystone Pipeline, and he talked about breaking up the Wall Street banks. So he makes no personal attacks on Hillary. You know, he doesn't question her honesty. He doesn't go after her on ethics stuff.
He won't.
And he says he won't.
Yeah.
But on substantive issues, he is really trying to force a debate and press a progressive agenda.
And I've been impressed with the response that he's been getting so far. I mean, the straw polls are meaningless, really, but the Democratic Party in Wisconsin, Hillary got 49% and he got 41%.
You know who's surprised by that? That would be Bernie Sanders.
Exactly. No, right.
What he indicated to me was that they didn't even know there was a straw poll going on until somebody called him and said, wow, you did great in the straw poll. So that's a sign that it's not the result of some organizational strategy. It's that people are saying, hey, I want to have a debate. These are issues on which I agree with him.
I talked to his chief of staff about it, and he said, imagine what we could have done if we had known and we had worked it, right? That would have been really something. So, you didn't ask him whether he has a dual citizenship.
I did not.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. Don't even.
No, that was an embarrassment. I don't know how that little rumor got started, but all right. Oh, man, we didn't even. Oh, the list. Again, Susan, we need more time, but we don't have it right now. So, thank you so much.
Hey, thank you, Bill.
And we'll see you Sunday morning on Capital Download.
Thank you.
All right, you got it. Capital Download. 8:30 a.m. You can pick it up online at WUSA 9. Susan Paige, Washington Bureau Chief, also for USA Today.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Right now, big banking, software, pharmaceutical, and tobacco corporations are lobbying governments from 12 countries to negotiate the dirtiest deal you've never heard of. There's a reason you haven't heard of the TPP or Trans-Pacific Partnership. There are some major corporations and government officials that don't want you to know what's in the deal. For one, our food safety standards, environmental protections, and local labor laws could all be threatened under the TPP. We could all be forced to pay significantly more for the medicines we need, and you could be fined or even sent to jail for downloading copyrighted content on the internet. How will they know if you do it? Because your internet service providers could be required to watch your online activity. But that's not the scariest part. The TPP gives corporations the power to sue our government in secret tribunals over any law or regulation they claim affects their expected future profits. Don't believe it? It's already happening. Recently, after our government said an American pharma corporation's drug price-raising patents were not legit, the firm sued Canadian taxpayers for a staggering $500 million. And a U.S. fracking company sued us when the Quebec government put a moratorium on shale gas development to study its impacts. These deals will stop us from making our own common sense laws for fear of lawsuits. Thankfully, not everyone is willing to sign on the dotted line just yet. In fact, most government officials still have no idea what they're even signing on to, for good reason. In the U.S., Democrats and Republicans alike are uniting to oppose a fast tracking of the TPP, demanding open debates and negotiations instead. Elected officials in Canada and everywhere should be doing this, and it's our job to make sure they start showing some backbone. Here's the deal. Without a strong public outcry, politicians will only hear the concerns of multinational corporations. And once the TPP is signed, it's here forever. There's no expiration date and no separation clause. This dirty deal has been deliberately branded as a free trade agreement. It is anything but free for people like you and me. And it's not really about trade. It could cost us our internet freedom, labor rights, access to affordable medicine, the safety of our food, and protections that keep our water and air clean. Nobody wants to be struck with a backroom deal we don't want and never voted for. Find out more, speak up, and spread the word.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Jeremy Herb from Politico, top of the next hour.
Big story yesterday, Bill, on 2016 trail. Hillary Clinton has joined Instagram. She has joined Instagram, so you can see photos from her. Just follow her on Instagram at Hillary Clinton. She made the big announcement yesterday.
She put some photos up?
Did she already put one photo up? And it's a photo of her in several different colors of pantsuits that just say hard choices.
So right.
Expect more from her on the campaign trail.
It's not a photo of her and her granddaughter?
No. What's Instagram
That was a miss.
No, I can't believe it.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, friends and neighbors, good show so far. A little time out here for a most important message. And I got one big word for you today. Please, please, please make your pledge to Free Speech TV. Look, we're really frustrated. I'm feeling frustrated because we're toward the end of our pledge drive and just nowhere near the goal where we've got to be. And I know you don't want that to happen. I know you don't want Free Speech TV to run out of gas. We know you love Free Speech TV, but we're not feeling that love, not seeing it. We're just nowhere close to our goal, not hitting the mark. So I ask you to please don't put it off any longer. Step up to the plate, make your pledge as generously as you can to help us meet our goal. Remember, our goal for every show here on the Bill Press Show is $1,500. Hey, that's not that much. Think about it. You know, it's 15 of you. If 15 of you give $100, we're there. 30 of you can give $50, we're there. Or think of it this way, the price of one night out for dinner for the two of you, you got a whole year of the great programming on Free Speech TV. But it really, really is urgent because, once again, you are Free Speech TV. We are, you are, there ain't nobody else. There's no government funding we can count on, no foundation funding, no corporate funding, no Koch brothers funding. It's just the partnership that we've got, and we've really got to keep that going. And we'll try to make it worth your while, just to give you a little maybe incentive to help us out today. Remember our premiums this time. If for $60, we'll send you this, for your one-time pledge of $60, this stamp, not to be used for bribing politicians. You can have a lot of fun with that with your friends. $120 can help us with that. We'll send you a copy of John Nichols' book, Dollarocracy, about all the evil of money in politics and how we get rid of it. For $240, you get the stamp and the book. And for $360, you get the stamp. Can't be used for bribing politicians. Dollarocracy by John Nichols, and a Free Speech TV baseball cap. If you can help with $1,000, a real special treat, come to Washington, see the monuments, get to the White House, get to the Capitol, and most importantly, Carol and I will take you out to dinner at one of our great restaurants on Capitol Hill, and then invite you in to join the crew the next morning, meet the team, have some district donuts, and enjoy the show. But the most important thing is we need your help to make your pledge as generously as you can. We know not everybody can do all the same, but whatever you can, your one-time pledge for Free Speech TV. Don't be a freeloader. Don't be just a couch potato. If you enjoy the programming, and we know you do, then do your share to keep Free Speech TV on the air and keep me and Stephanie Miller and Tom Hartman and Amy Goodman and David Packman and all the rest of the great Free Speech TV hosts in your home every single day. Please help. Please do it today. You know the number, 877-378-8669, or just go to freespeech.org. Please help, and we thank you.
What gets you into college? Good SAT scores? High GPA? Lots of extracurriculars?
Sure, but what you really need is money.
If you don't have the cash, you'll need a loan.
And we mean huge student loans because the cost of college has risen 1,000% in the last 30 years.
This means big money for the banks that collect fees and interest.
Now, millions of young people are starting their adult lives with an average of $29,000 of loans on their backs.
Altogether, we're talking $1.2 trillion in student debt.
and more people are finding it impossible to pay them back. Welcome to the student debt crisis.
The increasing demand for higher education and cuts to state funding gave colleges a huge incentive to keep inflating prices.
I graduated about a year ago, currently in $35,000 of debt.
I am in debt about like $25,000.
I owe $23,000.
I owe over $50,000 in student loans.
38.8 million Americans owe money on a student loan. And the biggest names in banking are making huge profits off the booming student loan industry. Sallie Mae, the largest provider of private student loans, made $949 million last year.
They only give you about 6 months to look for a job. You have to start paying back the loan. It's very pressuring, especially nowadays. It's very hard to find a job.
Over half of the students graduating in 2012 could not find a decent paying job.
They either had low-wage jobs or unpaid internships or were unemployed altogether.
So you can't make the payments. You start incurring late fees, which makes the loan even harder to pay off.
And it stays with you for years, even decades.
Right now, a third of the people who started repaying their loans are delinquent or in default.
That's 13.7 million people, more than the populations of Chicago, New York, and San Francisco combined.
Worse, it's not just the borrowers who are in trouble. Many loans require co-signers.
So if the student is unable to pay, that co-signer, a father, a mother, or a grandparent, is now on the hook.
Even a grandparent's Social Security benefits can be garnished to pay the loan.
We should have an answer to this. If you get really behind in your car payment or your credit cards, you can file for bankruptcy.
But Congress has made it nearly impossible to discharge student loans through bankruptcy.
Big institutions make big profits while students try to make ends meet under crushing debt.
Is this how we want our education system to work?
The whole point of going to college is to get the career you want, but lately that's been discouraged because no one can afford school. You get a job just to pay off your student loans.
We need higher education, not higher debt.
Sign up to end the student debt crisis at higherednotdebt.org.
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
President Obama, are you fracking kidding me?
Reopen the EPA studies. In Texas, Wyoming, and Pennsylvania.
Fracking pollutes our oceans.
Fracking poisons our water.
Fracking makes climate change worse.
Fracking relies on toxic chemicals that cause cancer.
Ban fracking now.
Ban fracking now.
Go on. Ban it.
Ban fracking now. Please.
450 more American troops to Iraq announced yesterday. Will that do the trick? Hey, hello, everybody. What do you say? It is Thursday, June 11. This is the Bill Press Show, and it's good to see you today and good to have you with us. We are here in our nation's capital, on Capitol Hill, our studio, just down the street from the United States Capitol building, where there's a lot of last-minute arm twisting and lobbying going on to see if President Obama and John Boehner can round up enough Republican and Democratic votes to pass the Trade Promotion Authority tomorrow. If they have the votes, there'll be a vote tomorrow. If they don't, they'll go home for the weekend. We'll keep you up to date on the latest here on the Bill Press Show today, and ask to invite you rather to join the conversation at any time. We're here with you, of course, on your local progressive talk radio station nationwide. Here with you on Free Speech TV nationwide and worldwide on TawkrTV, youtube.com/Tawker, TAWKR-TV. Check it out. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS. Send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. Our team here, Peter Ogburn and Lisa Murphy.
Hello, Bill.
Hey, good morning.
All right, ready to go with Jamie Benson taking your calls, and Cyprian Bolding, our videographer, on the job. And we welcome to talk about ISIS and Iraq and how things are going and whether these 450 more troops are going to make any difference. Jeremy Herb is the defense reporter for Politico, good friend of the program. Jeremy, it's good to see you again.
Thanks for having me.
And the other big news of the day is the Nats won again.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah, it shouldn't be such a rare treat these days.
They got to get hot again, man.
I'm more concerned. My Giants had a no-hitter the other day.
That's right.
So.
That was incredible.
Yeah, rookie too.
I was going to say this guy that nobody ever heard of.
Yeah, yeah. He came in because of an injury this year, and we're not complaining.
No. The Nats had to go into overtime, of course. Extra innings, I should say. Well, I call it overtime.
How many points did
to beat the Yankees. They don't play the Yankees very often.
I know. I love it. I love it when we play the Yankees.
Right.
I actually saw them play the Yankees. I think it was last month when they were here.
Right.
Which was they won that game, and they won it with Alex Rodriguez pinch hitting and striking out in the final batter.
Oh, is that right?
It was pretty fun.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. So Denard Spahn is the one who made the big difference last night in the 11th inning.
Here's the pitch. Swing and a chopper over the mound toward the middle of the diamond. Tough play. Drew has it off balance. Thrown to first is too late. Tyler Moore scores as Span legs out an infield hit and drives in his second run of the game and 19th of the year. It's the go-ahead run here at the top of the 11th inning.
I think that's still only the second game of the last 11 that they've won. So we got to turn it around.
It's a long season.
Jeremy here for the first half hour. Tom Perriello from the State Department will be joining us, former member of Congress, of course, from Virginia, at the half hour. And the next hour, Congressman Mark Pocan from Wisconsin and the one and only Sister Simone Campbell, president of the Nuns on the Bus. But first, Peter.
This is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. Nick Jensen and his wife Sarah live in Australia. They're very happily married, if you believe them. But Nick just wrote an op-ed for the Canberra City News that said that he is a Christian, his wife is a Christian, they live their marriage according to the teachings of the Bible, and, quote, marriage is the union of a man and a woman before a community in the sight of God, and so that if gay marriage becomes a worldwide thing, they're going to get a divorce.
Oh, my goodness.
Clearly, they're already on stable ground if this is what it takes for them to want a divorce.
What a solid relationship.
He says, for us, fundamentally, when we got married, we signed a contract with the state, and that contract was around the current definition of marriage and all things that come with it. If the definition of the contract is changed, the contract is now null and void. So he's going to get a divorce.
Clearly, with this guy, the elevator doesn't go all the way to the top floor.
That's right.
What is the connection between their love for each other and the fact that they're Christians and getting a divorce because there's a gay marriage somewhere else on the planet?
There was a great excuse that dudes used to have to avoid getting married of, oh, sweetie, I'll only marry you when everybody can get married. When gay marriage is legal, that's when I'll marry you because I believe in the rights of everybody. I think this guy is unhappy and is just looking for a way out.
Absolutely.
It's garbage. To Brentwood, Tennessee we go, where a local pastor by the name of Michael Broadno, he suffered a stroke last summer. So his wife, Charlotte, had a professional come out and build a wheelchair ramp on their home. It looks great. See the pictures. We'll tweet them out at BP Show. Except she received a letter in the mail from the HOA that said, you need to take this down immediately. So that they never actually got permission to put that on there. And that if they don't take it down within 14 days, they're going to take legal action. Now, her husband is still in the hospital. He's doing okay. He's getting therapy, but he needs a wheelchair to get upstairs. He needs help getting upstairs. There's no word yet on how this is going to be resolved, but it's not looking good for the homeowner.
I don't think it's looking good for the city.
It looks terrible for the city.
Yeah.
That's
it looks
horrible.
terrible for the city. Isn't that terrible? And scientists, for the first time, they say, have observed chimpanzees drinking alcohol in the wild. Now, this happens in Guinea, where the sap from certain trees ferment and make an alcohol. And the chimps have found out that will get them drunk. So scientists have been studying these chimpanzees.
They're smart.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah, look, that's what you do, right? If they know how to find it. They know that it gets them drunk, and they keep coming back to it. So good on those chimpanzees, man.
Free drinks, man.
Nothing like free drinks. I'm surprised a couple of Washington journalists haven't shown up there yet.
Give it time.
They'll find it.
But it reminds me, I don't think we talked about this last week. I saw this story about chimps that they figured out that they know how to cook.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, right? What was it that if they
had it's a cognitive thing, right? Like they have the tools to do it, they have the wherewithal to do it, but they haven't quite made the connection on how to cook. But that they could.
But that they could.
They could.
Interesting.
But they don't. I saw the story. I found it odd, but it's
So now they can cook and they can drink and hey,
what else do you need?
Can they do talk radio?
That'll be next.
If you can.
I know. I set myself up.
I know. I had to.
I have to say, they could do it better than some of the people I know that are out there. Not naming any names, Diane Rehm. 13 minutes. 13 minutes after the hour now. It was yesterday at the briefing. Of course, the big topic was this announcement on ISIS. Josh Earnest said this is an important part of the strategy.
Bringing them into this fight under the command and control of the Iraqi central government will be an important part of ensuring that we have Iraqi fighters on the ground who are fighting ISIL in their own country and even in their own communities.
So, Jeremy, are these 450 going to make any difference?
Well, I think the analysis more is that this is kind of staying the course that the administration has charted. You know, we are upping our troop presence now there to 3,500, but we're still keeping any troops out of a real combat role. These troops are going to the western province, Anbar, where ISIS recently took Ramadi to try and get the Iraqi army there to start making some progress. Their job is both to kind of advise the Iraqi army that is in the western Iraq and also encourage Sunni members of this, Sunnis to join the army, Sunni tribes to get more involved in this fight and try and bring together that Sunni-Shia divide that has really hampered Iraq's efforts against ISIS so far.
Well, so how do you think they settled on this? You're right, they're 3,100 there now, so now we're up to 3,550. Why the number 450? I mean, why not 1,000?
Well, in the initial reports actually said that he was considering 1,000 and went with 450. It's a number. It puts a bit of a presence there for the U.S. This is a new base we're going to have U.S. troops at in this advise and assist mission, or the White House is calling it a training mission. There's a little bit of a rhetorical divide there between the Pentagon and the White House over what they're doing.
Yeah.
But, it gets us a new presence, but it also still is not that large scale. President Obama still is saying he does not want a large U.S. ground force on the ground. And I think they've decided that 450 or so troops gets them, what they need to do to have a presence in Western Iraq without going too far on that line to becoming a real U.S. ground force there.
Do we know, or do you know, how many years we have had American troops training as advisors to the Iraqi military? I mean, it goes back probably 10 years, right? If you think about how many years, how much money, and how many troops we have had there advising the Iraqi military, and what do we get for it?
Not a whole lot. One of the frustrating things for Pentagon officials is just how bad the Iraqi army has been, even along this newest training mission.
Yeah.
In the case of Ramadi, they had ISIS outnumbered, and it didn't matter. The commanders called in retreat, troops fled. There were some suicide bombings, car bombings being done by ISIS. It disoriented the Iraqi troops, apparently. That's the reporting on the ground. But, they were still very much outnumbering the ISIS fighters, and it just didn't matter. They just left.
So we're doing more of the same, right? I mean, at some point you have to, I don't know. Yeah, at some point you just have to wonder, what is the answer? It seems to me it's pretty clear this is not the answer. But do you think the president will be able to resist? He's not going to send any ground troops to Iraq, I guess.
Certainly doesn't seem that way. I think there'd have to be a major shift there beyond what we're seeing now to get him to really shift in that. But there are some things that U.S. troops could do. Republicans, like John McCain and Lindsey Graham are calling for. You could have them on the ground with the Iraqi forces, being the ones to help call in airstrikes. That's kind of one of the big things that Obama has resisted.
And these people are not going to do that?
No, these people are not kind of going out on the front lines with the Iraqi forces. They're going to advise them, trying to help them, be a more effective fighting force. But we have not given our troops authorization to really go out and be the ones, calling in the airstrikes and doing more, more of that thing that would, to be fair, put them in greater harm's way of getting shot at and potentially having to shoot back and actually getting involved in the conflict.
To what extent does this reflect on the Iraqi government, the new Iraqi government?
It's not a good sign for them. I think there's been some frustration with the new Prime Minister Abadi that he hasn't taken the steps that he said he would to really try and include the Sunnis into the Shia government, into the military, and that divide still is a big problem for Iraq. Turning the tide here against ISIS.
Haven't we learned that if he doesn't do it, we can't do it?
Yeah, I think that's the frustration on the part of the U.S. of what they can do. We did try that large ground force, and obviously that didn't go so well either. But now that you have ISIS, there's no clear answer about what you actually can do to make a significant difference and really, as the president said, defeat and degrade.
And I guess the question we'll get into after the break here with Jeremy Herb from Politico and with you at 866-55-PRESS is whether this is the first step down a slippery slope. A lot of people are saying, uh-oh, it's Vietnam all over again. First we send the advisors, and then 866-55-PRESS. We'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, friends and neighbors, good show so far. A little time out here for a most important message, and I got one big word for you today. Please, please, please make your pledge to Free Speech TV. Look, we're really frustrated. I'm feeling frustrated because we're toward the end of our pledge drive and just nowhere near the goal where we've got to be. And I know you don't want that to happen. I know you don't want Free Speech TV to run out of gas. We know you love Free Speech TV, but we're not feeling that love, not seeing it. We're just nowhere close to our goal, not hitting the mark. So I ask you to please don't put it off any longer. Step up to the plate. Make your pledge as generously as you can to help us meet our goal. Remember, our goal for every show here on the Bill Press Show is $1,500. Hey, that's not that much. Think about it. It's 15 of you. If 15 of you give $100, we're there. 30 of you can give $50, we're there. Or think of it this way, the price of one night out for dinner for the two of you, you got a whole year of the great programming on Free Speech TV. But it really, really is urgent because, once again, you are Free Speech TV. We are, you are, there ain't nobody else. There's no government funding we can count on, no foundation funding, no corporate funding, no Koch brothers funding. It's just the partnership that we've got, and we've really got to keep that going. And we'll try to make it worth your while. Just to give you a little maybe incentive to help us out today. Remember our premiums this time. If for $60, we'll send you this for your one-time pledge of $60. This stamp, not to be used for bribing politicians. You can have a lot of fun with that with your friends. $120 can help us with that. We'll send you a copy of John Nichols' book, Dollarocracy, about all the evil of money in politics and how we get rid of it. For $240, you get the stamp and the book, and for $360, you get the stamp. Can't be used for bribing politicians. Dollarocracy by John Nichols, and a Free Speech TV baseball cap. If you can help with $1,000, a real special treat, come to Washington, see the monuments, get to the White House, get to the Capitol, and most importantly, Carol and I will take you out to dinner at one of our great restaurants on Capitol Hill, and then invite you in to join the crew the next morning, meet the team, have some district donuts, and enjoy the show. But the most important thing is we need your help to make your pledge as generously as you can. We know not everybody can do all the same, but whatever you can, your one-time pledge for Free Speech TV. Don't be a freeloader. Don't be just a couch potato. If you enjoy the programming, we know you do, then do your share to keep Free Speech TV on the air and keep me and Stephanie Miller and Tom Hartman and Amy Goodman and David Packman and all the rest of the great Free Speech TV hosts in your home every single day. Please help. Please do it today. You know the number, 877-378-8669, or just go to freespeech.org. Please help, and we thank you.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
President Obama, are you fracking kidding me?
Reopen the EPA studies. In Texas, Wyoming, and Pennsylvania.
Fracking pollutes our oceans.
Fracking poisons our water.
Fracking makes climate change worse.
Fracking relies on toxic chemicals that cause cancer.
Ban fracking now.
Ban fracking now.
Go on. Ban it.
Ban fracking now. Please.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
Our Tom Perello, Special State Department representative, will be here with a big report on some reforms in the State Department. Tom Perello, former congressman from Virginia, good friend of ours. Right now we're visiting with Jeremy Herb, who's a defense reporter for Politico. So, Jeremy, what did the president mean last week, Sunday, in Germany when he said, we don't have a complete strategy for dealing with ISIS?
I think if he could, he would take back that comment because it's, of course, being used now by his critics to slam the overall. He was talking, though, about the Iraqi training strategy, which now, or the Iraqi training mission, which now he is bolstering. They're having problems where they don't have troops to train. They don't have enough. They've been going, for months in some places where there aren't troops coming that they can actually train. And he was talking about how they needed the participation from Iraq, to be able to execute the strategy, and that
not to mention the missing Syrian moderates, right?
Exactly. I mean, we're not even talking about the U.S. train and equip, strategy in Syria, which is a whole other can of worms that, has not gotten as much attention because there aren't cities falling like they are right now in Iraq, but is still, when it comes to actually getting some ground and defeating ISIS, a huge problem.
Right. But it just was pretty jarring and pretty shocking for those of us who cover the White House, because 10 months ago, when we started this air campaign, the president said the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, this time,
in the briefing room, we don't have a strategy yet.
He added complete this time. So we've gone from no strategy to not a complete strategy. But I think it's an admission, intentional or not, that this is not, this is a problem. This is not something that, suddenly, as you said, these 450 troops are going to come in and change what's going on there. I think he's effectively admitted this is going to outlast his presidency, dealing with ISIS.
Right.
And it is a long-term thing. And without cooperation from the Iraqis and other Arab countries, there's only so much the U.S. can do.
Okay, so the fear on the part of a lot of people that, all right, this is like Vietnam. First we send the advisors, and then we send the ground troops, no matter what they say in the beginning. Legitimate fear?
It could be, especially when you think about, Obama is only in office now for another year and a half, and I think I'd be surprised, barring any other major developments, that he would send in a ground force. But at some point, there is going to need to be a ground force there to get ISIL out or get ISIS out. Whether that is an Iraqi ground force, an Arab ground force, or even a U.S. ground force. It's certainly, it's part of that. The military has said airstrikes alone won't do the job. Could a future president do that? Potentially. But, obviously that's still a long ways away.
So it's possible that these I know that's not the president's intent, that these advisors could be just doing the groundwork for American combat troops that would come in under a different or the next administration.
It's certainly possible.
God forbid. Oh, boy. Hey, Jeremy, great work over there at Politico. Thanks so much for coming in this morning.
Thanks
for having me. Good to see you. We'll be back with Tom Perello talk about State Department.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, folks, just a little time out. Hope you're enjoying the show today. A little time out here to tell you again and get about free speech, get your help. And, we reach out to you, all of our viewers around the country, during these pledge drives, ask you to help. And we're so grateful when you do. And it's very rare, though. We get a chance to thank one of you actually in person. So we welcome to the show today and to our studio Craig Tepfer, all the way from Chelsea, Michigan, a regular free speech viewer and a very generous contributor to free speech. Craig, it's good to see you.
It's good to be here, Bill.
Thank you for coming in all the way from Chelsea, Michigan. I know last year we met because you were made a $1,000 pledge. You and your daughter came. Carol and I, we all went out to dinner together, had a good time. That was a lot of fun.
Had a great time.
Right. And it's good to see you back. So tell us again, why do you really like Free Speech TV?
Free speech to me is the dream come true. It's television without commercials, plain and simple.
Yeah. And you like the people and obviously in the content on Free Speech?
All of the regular programs plus all of the special programs you can't find anyplace else on the television set.
It's the one progressive television channel people don't realize is maybe in the country, right? 24/7, where you can always count on going there and hearing good stuff from a progressive point of view.
This is true. It's 24 hours a day. All of the programs are great to watch, intellectually stimulating, and have great progressive concepts.
Well, we wouldn't be here without people like you, and I want to thank you again personally. And you're back today because you want to make another pledge and challenge people to meet it, right?
That's right. I would like to pledge a half of my net worth, 0.5% of my net worth, to match the Koch brothers' donation to the GOP. So I am committing $500.
Great.
To the Free Speech TV, and hope that your listeners can match that.
I think that's a great challenge, all right? So there you go. There's $500 from Craig Tepfer today. You can match that yourself or a couple of you, 2 or 3 of you. Get together, get your family members together, and match this pledge so Craig doesn't feel alone. And we have the help we need on free speech to get going. And, of course, you know the way to do so, Craig, you certainly do, is give us a call at 877-378-8669. Number again, 877-378-8669. Or just go to freespeech.org, freespeech.org. And, Craig, the other thing I want to congratulate you on, you are a pioneer in solar energy. I know you have a solar-powered car right now. So you're doing so many great things.
I've been doing this for most of my life, wind and solar energy, and supporting environmental groups and organizations that promote solar energy.
Well, so good of you to do that, and so good of you to come in. And thanks again for your help for Free Speech TV. And match Craig Tepfer's $500 grant. Thank you, Craig.
It's so important. Thank you.
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
President Obama, are you fracking kidding me?
Reopen the EPA studies.
In Texas, Wyoming, and Pennsylvania.
Fracking pollutes our oceans. Fracking poisons our water.
Fracking makes climate change worse.
Fracking relies on toxic chemicals that cause cancer.
Ban fracking now. Ban fracking now.
Go on. Ban it.
Ban fracking now. Please.
Show.
Make it 33 minutes after the hour now. June 11th, Thursday, the Bill Press Show. Good to see you. Good to have you with us on your local progressive talk radio station, coast to coast, and on Free Speech TV, coast to coast as well. Thank you so much for joining us today. Don't forget you can always join the conversation at 866-55-PRESS. We are here in our nation's capital, in our studio on Capitol Hill, where we are brought to you today by the American Federation of Government Employees. You know, the good men and women of the AFGE under President J. David Cox. They keep our federal agencies running, keep the wheels of government turning. Proud to work for America every day. You bet. You can find out more about their good work at afge.org. Well, I got to tell you, it's hard keeping track of this guy, our next guest in studio with us. He did a great job representing the 5th Congressional District of Virginia in the United States Congress for a few years, then moved on to the Center for American Progress, where he often visited us here in the studio, and now he's a special representative at the State Department, the Honorable Tom Perello. Tom, good to see you this morning.
Good to be back.
And you have just finished overseeing this quadrennial review of the State Department. Is this something that always under every administration?
No, it was actually an initiative created by Secretary Clinton when she was there, so this is the second one that's been done. And I think her experience sitting on the Senate Armed Service Committee is the Defense Department has done something called the Quadrennial Defense Review. And for those of us that want to restore or reinforce the idea that civilians need to be in charge of foreign policy, the State Department is supposed to drive that, the importance of both diplomacy and development. She said, well, we need to make sure we have the same strategic and analytical rigor on the civilian side, where you kind of do a timeout every 4 years because there's a lot of responding to the crisis of the day. And you say, okay, let's look at the threats. Let's look at the opportunities. Let's look at our capabilities. How are they matching up to make sure that strategy is driving operations instead of operations driving strategy? Sorry about that.
Okay. Now, before we dive into this report, how is the Secretary doing?
Well, I'll tell you what, he is just tough as nails in the way that he negotiates for peace, in the way that he bikes, in the way he recovers. And I think it's really
He has one speed, right, which is top speed, right, or overdrive even.
I'll tell you, for those of us that believe diplomacy matters and can be part of making a safer world, he has certainly become the embodiment of that spirit. This was a tough break, literally and figuratively. It's not slowing him down. And so he's continuing to recover, and obviously our thoughts and prayers are with him.
I remember Josh Earnest at our White House briefing the first day that we gathered after his accident, and Josh said that the president and everybody at the White House expected Secretary Kerry to approach his recovery with, quote, uncommon zeal, which I thought was a great phrase and sort of symbolizes the way he goes after everything, right?
It's really true, and it
So
comes
is he still in the hospital?
The last report I had that he was, but certainly continuing to work every minute and do phone calls to leaders around the world and get briefed up and continue to be very involved in key decisions. There's going to be some recovery with it.
Right.
I'm not a medical expert, so I don't know all the details, but my sense is, by all indications, he's on the mend.
Do you expect it to slow down progress with the Iran negotiations?
I don't. Again, I'm not on the inner circle of those negotiations, but my sense is everyone understands his key role in this is really a driver of the process, but so many other key actors that are moving forward with the details of the negotiations. And so there's a full team working on it, and that's proceeding apace.
And I'm sure he's working on it from his hospital room.
Certainly. There's no detail he's not going to be read in on and weighing in on. And obviously, with with the technology we have today, one doesn't have to be physically present to be engaged in that process. So, no, there's no question that he's still very engaged in that and a number of other issues that are ongoing.
So let's talk about the State Department. How big is it?
If you put state and USAID together, it's about 70,000 people. It's over
state and
USAID, our foreign aid arm. It's over 200 posts around the world. Now, a significant chunk of that is our locally engaged staff, people of all nationalities around the world who come to work every day at our embassies and our consulates, working to protect our personnel and help us with consular affairs and all sorts of other things. So it's a tremendous operation, and one of several reasons, the State Department has traditionally led on foreign policy is that we are physically present in these countries and therefore engaging with the cultures, with the people, with the realities on the ground that can really be crucial for quality foreign policy. There are a number of things getting in the way of that, which we try to address in the report, but that's about the size of it.
Yeah, but like in terms of numbers, in Washington, you've got 5,000?
A few more than that. The Foggy Bottom is still a pretty massive operation. You can get quite a few steps in if you have a Fitbit just walking around that building from meeting to meeting.
I'll bet.
And USAID is centered over in the Ronald Reagan building, some would say ironically, but very effectively. And so you have those operations here and obviously working with the interagency on a number of issues. But so many things. Every day people are making sure that Americans overseas are being taken care of, helping to work on entrepreneurship, particularly with young women overseas, where America continues to be a pretty consistent leader, certainly something Secretary Clinton elevated and Secretary Kerry continues. So just a tremendous amount day to day, not just on the policy side, but on the program side.
Now, I don't mean to get into the whole mess about Secretary Clinton's emails, but to what extent is the State Department technologically where they have to be today?
They're not. And everyone there experiences that every day. There have been tremendous efforts over the last few years to try to adjust, but there's no question that the speed of government and the speed of technology are not operating at the same pace. It takes a long time to try to get things, particularly when you're budget constrained. And as you know, when you're going through a big transformation, often you have to make a significant upfront investment that will save you money over time.
Sure.
But we've been in a budget environment where it's very difficult to do that. In fact, many of the recommendations we tried to make in the system were ones that were not budget feasible. And that's something we have to take seriously in a democracy if we want, again, civilian leadership in foreign policy, if we want diplomacy to be in the lead, but we can't make those investments. That being said, you've seen a move to be able to operate more with smartphones in the field and tablets moving in that direction. As you know from being overseas, particularly in much of the global south, you might spend 3 or 4 hours a day in traffic in a big megacity and going from meeting to meeting because of infrastructure not catching up.
Yeah.
If you have the technology to be working inside that car during that time, your productivity during the day is probably twice that of what it would be otherwise. The other thing, obviously, that we look at is the issue of knowledge management. And we've gone from a world of information scarcity where, if you can personally read this much information, you're on top of the game, to information saturation where you simply can't read everything. So how are we going to be able to aggregate information and use it effectively to shape public policy?
And by the way, just an aside, I'm sure what's true of the State Department is true of every government agency. Right. I mean, local, state, and certainly at the federal level. I know at the White House, for example, they're the first ones to admit.
Well, it sometimes feels like our friends across the river seem to have the resources to make those technological leaps, but the Defense Department also has constraints, particularly in a BCA environment. So some of it's financial, and the other is security. I mean, the number of constant attempts to hack into government systems is something where we simply cannot operate with the same set of rules and flexibilities that you would have if you're a non-governmental actor.
So looking at the State Department with that like 30,000 feet perspective or whatever with your quadrennial review, what's the biggest challenge or challenges that you see facing the State Department? What did you find?
So I think that there are a couple of operational constraints that we found, and then a couple of issue areas that are both constraints and opportunities. On the issues, one of the things that we've seen just increase dramatically over the last few years around the world is the interest in addressing corruption. And corruption at one time felt like sort of an afterthought. Oh, wouldn't it be nice if we can address that? But what we see now is it actually comes up as a primary issue.
Corruption in foreign governments?
In foreign governments. And you see this as a constraint to economic growth that's key to particularly inclusive economic growth. You see it relating to recruitment of violent extremism, the issue of real and perceived injustices and unfairness. And obviously you see it as a human dignity issue that has been a significant factor in Arab Spring revolutions and other spaces. And this is actually a place where America has a pretty good track record right now that I think the FIFA scandal really does capture. The Foreign Corrupt Practices Act that Congress has put in place does ask our corporations to play by a pretty significant set of rules, one that a lot of other corporations around the world don't play by. Obviously, we have our own issues here, both ones that we can tend to address through prosecution, and then there's the money and politics debate we can have. But corruption and being seen to address it overseas is a place where I think we also have a more sophisticated set of tools. It used to be this sort of false binary. Okay, we either decide a country is corrupt or not, and that means we either continue to work with them or not. But we actually can know now that this minister in country X is doing incredibly good work. She's a leader on this, and this other one is corrupt. And we can use a different set of tools to try to help those in civil society, those citizens that are addressing it. Operationally, as I said, I think one of the great advantages state and USAID have had over the years is the ability to partner directly with people in these countries in order to make sure we have the best understanding we can. And we do see increasing constraints, though, again, much can be done. And some of those are physical risk constraints because the world's become a risky place.
I want to ask you about that.
And some of them are information issues, which is you can literally spend all day in front of your computer just trying to read the latest news and information or social media. We have to make sure our information systems are getting those folks sort of filtered, leveraged information so that they're still getting outside beyond the embassy walls to engage with, again, but not just foreign ministers in those countries, but others. In fact, one of the other themes of the report, we've sort of jokingly called it From Westphalia to a Wiki World, is that it's not just nation states that matter. You need to get to mayors, you need to get to governors, you need to get to CEOs. We didn't invent this idea. State and aid have been doing it for a while, but really trying to emphasize that issue that influence is way beyond just foreign ministries in understanding what's going on in a country.
New directions, new challenges, new opportunities for the State Department. Tom Perello here, who just finished leading up their quadrennial review. Fascinating stuff. You got a question or a comment? Now's the time at 866-55-PRESS. We'll be right back. All right, friends and neighbors, good show so far. Little time out here for a most important message. And I got one big word for you today. Please, please, please make your pledge to Free Speech TV. Look, we're really frustrated. I'm feeling frustrated because we're toward the end of our pledge drive and just nowhere near the goal where we've got to be. And I know you don't want that to happen. I know you don't want Free Speech TV to run out of gas. We know you love Free Speech TV, but we're not feeling that love, not seeing it. We're just nowhere close to our goal, not hitting the mark. So I ask you to please don't put it off any longer. Step up to the plate, make your pledge as generously as you can to help us meet our goal. Remember, our goal for every show here on the Bill Press Show is $1,500. Hey, that's not that much. Think about it. You know, it's 15 of you. If 15 of you give $100, we're there. 30 of you can give $50, we're there. Or think of it this way, the price of one night out for dinner for the two of you, you got a whole year of the great programming on Free Speech TV. But it really, really is urgent because, once again, you are Free Speech TV. We are, you are, there ain't nobody else. There's no government funding we can count on, no foundation funding, no corporate funding, no Koch brothers funding. It's just the partnership that we've got, and we've really got to keep that going. And we'll try to make it worth your while, just to give you a little maybe incentive to help us out today. Remember our premiums this time. If for $60, we'll send you this, for your one-time pledge of $60, this stamp, not to be used for bribing politicians. You can have a lot of fun with that with your friends. $120 if you help us with that. We'll send you a copy of John Nichols' book, Dollarocracy, about all the evil of money in politics and how we get rid of it. For $240, you get the stamp and the book, and for $360, you get the stamp. Can't be used for bribing politicians. Dollarocracy by John Nichols, and a Free Speech TV baseball cap. If you can help with $1,000, a real special treat, come to Washington, see the monuments, get to the White House, get to the Capitol, and most importantly, Carol and I will take you out to dinner at one of our great restaurants on Capitol Hill, and then invite you in to join the crew the next morning, meet the team, have some district donuts, and enjoy the show. But the most important thing is we need your help to make your pledge as generously as you can. We know not everybody can do all the same, but whatever you can, your one-time pledge for Free Speech TV. Don't be a freeloader. Don't be just a couch potato. If you enjoy the program, and we know you do, then do your share to keep Free Speech TV on the air and keep me and Stephanie Miller and Tom Hartman and Amy Goodman and David Packman and all the rest of the great Free Speech TV hosts in your home every single day. Please help. Please do it today. You know the number, 877-378-8669, or just go to freespeech.org. Please help, and we thank you.
The most valuable morning radio show, according to The Nation magazine. This is The Bill Press Show.
You can follow him on Twitter at Tom Perello, or you can just talk to him right here in the studio with us. Special State Department representative and the leader of the Quadrennial
Diplomacy and Development Review.
Well, I'm going to say that's a mouthful. Right, indeed. Tom Perriello.
How do you fit all that on the business card?
We really try to skip that altogether. You know, hashtag QDDR.
There you go.
Pretty much either know the acronym or you move on.
Right. In the next hour, Congressman Tom Pocan from Wisconsin, Madison, is going to be here in studio with us. And then Sister Simone Campbell, our good friend, who is head of the Nuns on the Bus, good friend of Tom's as well, will be here in studio with us. She's very excited about the Pope's encyclical on climate change, which is due on June 18, and the Pope, of course, coming to the United States in September after he first visits Cuba. When I was in Cuba a couple of weeks ago, Tom, I saw the big Plaza de la Revolucion where Fidel Castro used to give his speeches to a million people.
Long speeches.
Yeah, right. And the Pope is going to celebrate Mass there in that plaza. So now that you've completed this review, good of you to come in here and talk to us about it, but what happens to you? Do you present it to the secretary and say, here, do this, or to the president, or how do you get it out there?
Well, the flow of direction goes a little bit in reverse. The secretary hands it to the building. It's his document ultimately, and says, we need to make this happen. And you mentioned climate change. It's one of the 4 strategic priorities that's raised. And really in the same way that the first QDDR raised the issue of the importance of women and girls, not as a siloed issue that some small group of people in the department think about, but something that everybody has responsibility to think about. It should be considered as an element in all aspects of how we think about diplomacy and development. We in many ways argue, A, that's true and continues to be important, and B, climate is similar to that. If you're looking at refugee issues or public health issues, if you're looking at conflict dynamics, if you're looking at food issues and how that affects development in a country, you need to be thinking about not just how we mitigate climate, which continues to be obviously a huge thrust with the Paris talks and beyond, but also how we prepare for the realities of climate change that we're seeing affect and exacerbate insecurities. So what the secretary does is he will be sending out, an implementation plan. Deputy Secretary Heather Higginbottom is really going to help drive this process. And again, some of this gets into very wonky HR stuff, but it has a huge impact on the public servants who go to work every day at the State Department, and some of them will be sort of at the policy level.
So has the secretary endorsed the report?
He has. He launched this about 5 or 6 weeks ago which was great, and said, he asked from the beginning for this to be a very focused document. It's about 60% shorter than the last one, and really be something that was translated into action. We've done about a 5-week rollout of it with doing separate events on issues around town, like a corruption issue event at Carnegie, one on how to use data and diagnostics at Brookings, an overall event at U.S. Institute of Peace. So really trying to drive this conversation forward internally. It's great with technology. Yesterday, I was able to do a video conference with over 100 of our missions around the world to talk and hear back from them about what this would mean for them on a day-to-day basis in the field. So that's the ongoing effort, is to make this part of a continuous learning and improvement process.
We touched on it very briefly before, but I want to come back to it. What about the issue of security at our embassies? I mean, I know from some of the people I know in the State Department, there's a lot of work going on to reinforce and make these safer buildings, and it's a real concern today.
It's a huge concern, and I think we need to be looking at it from multiple angles. One is, how do we protect our people and make sure that we understand and can manage risk? But the second, which actually came up a lot in our report, which was quite interesting, was rising frustration from people at State and Aid that they can't get out and engage enough. They can't do the job they signed up to do for their country.
Right, because
And so in the same way,
because
people,
of the security, their own security risks, if they're outside the embassy.
Right. And some of the approaches we're taking to it. So I think we want to get that calibrated right. This began, we've actually lost more ambassadors on the front lines than generals since World War I. It's always been inherently risky to do diplomacy and development and to be a representative of the U.S. government. But we see some real dynamics changing in the last decade or so. If you take the politics out of it, excuse me, and the U.S. government flag out of it, and just look at humanitarian workers and reporters over recent years, there's a real increase and increased complexity of risk that people face.
Absolutely.
So if we believe diplomacy and development matters, and we believe that personal relationships and engagement is part of that, we have to figure out how to get this balance right. And I will say it's been incredibly inspiring to hear from our officers in the field who said, look, I signed up to serve my country. I understood there was inherent risk in that. I'm out here to do a job to make our country safer. Just because I'm not carrying a gun or in uniform doesn't mean that I'm not showing courage in the field to do this. So I think what we're trying to do is get the risk management right, make sure we're doing wellness for our folks before, during, and after tough posts, but also begin an important conversation with Congress and others about risk tolerance.
Tom, wherever you go, you're always on the front lines, on the cutting edge. Once again here at the State Department. Great work on this. Congratulations.
Thank you.
For getting it through.
Thanks for having me on.
And thanks for coming in and telling us all about it.
Tell Sister Simone I said hello.
All right, we'll do that. And Congressman Mark Pocan as well at the top of the next hour.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
I'm the retired bishop with the Episcopal Church as the bishop for all chaplains in federal service. I read that there was a group of people that represented a sense of injustice that I had. We'd lost Zuccotti. I mean, there was a kind of a hope that maybe Trinity Church would be gracious and give refuge. We picked this day where we would gather and demonstrate that Trinity closing its ears to what was happening. We marched around the block, and I realized that, my goodness, they're carrying a ladder. And I thought, well, this is the moment. You could feel a spiritual presence. You could feel a certain something. And then the cops came in. It got brutal.
I'm with you right here. Robin, I'm here.
The church needed, in this moment in history, to to stand alongside of these protesters. Truth of Christ is found in the pews, is found in the institutional church, but it is also found in the streets. It's found in the honesty and the integrity, the insistence of people that you find in Occupy Wall Street.
Tune in to Gay USA with hosts Ann Northrup and Andy Hum for in-depth coverage of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender news. Watch Gay USA every week, only on Free Speech TV.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
President Obama, not a lot on his plate today, gets a daily briefing, and then he does a little fundraiser for the DNC this afternoon, otherwise just private meetings at the White House. And we will be joining Press Secretary Josh Earnest at the White House for our daily press briefing at 12:30. A big hour coming up with Congressman Mark Pocan and Sister Simone Campbell here.
This is the Bill Press Show.
What they told us we were doing was going to rid the state of frivolous lawsuits. So we said, okay, let's vote for this.
Leading up to the 2003 effort in Texas, the insurance companies primarily, but also the medical industry, started this drumbeat. They were alleging that medical malpractice lawsuits were soaring and the cost of healthcare was going way up. They barraged the citizens of Texas with these frightening, scary messages that we were in some sort of crisis. But the reality was that simply wasn't true.
One of the things I think the public doesn't fully understand is that lawsuits are about a lot more than just seeking compensation for an individual plaintiff. By giving damages to the individual, the jury is sending a message about safety to the doctors, the nurses, the hospital. Please change your ways. Make healthcare safer to protect all of us.
Bill and Kelly Putnam experienced a nightmare scenario. They're in the nursing home with their father. The nurse administers medication improperly. As a result, he started to choke on the medication, and Kelly was forced to provide CPR on her father, while staff at the nursing home did nothing.
I was probably 6 inches away from my dad's eyes. He's no longer thrashing, he's no longer moving.
And so they took him to the hospital, they worked on him, cause of death, aspiration. Texas Board of Nursing ruled that the nurse not only did what we said she did, but she also said that the facility had her destroy the medical records for that day and create a new version. I decided to give a lawyer friend a call. I went through probably 10, maybe more. All of them I got the same letter back, stating that because of tort reform, We cannot afford to litigate these types of cases.
What the 2003 restrictions did was make it economically unfeasible for most attorneys to take most medical malpractice cases. It's a cynical attempt to make it harder for people to go to court by making it harder for them to get representation.
I do remember when Patricia Whitman first contacted me, because as a cardiologist, I was pretty outraged when I looked at the medical records.
Patricia Whitman visited the emergency room complaining of chest pains. They look at her EKG. Doctor says, no, you've got indigestion, go home. The symptoms persist. Next day she goes in, sees a different physician. She's been having a heart attack.
Anyone looking at this EKG in a patient with chest pain has to consider that that patient is having an acute heart attack until proven otherwise. All of these abnormalities were essentially ignored, and a diagnosis of acid reflux was made in Patricia Whitman's case, and that was the wrong diagnosis.
The doctor came in and he said that I had substantial permanent heart damage and that I was, quote unquote, 100% disabled. Prior to the heart attack, I had a 3,500 square foot home that I took care of, and I was on my feet 8 hours a day going to cosmetology school. Then I would come home and cook for my kids and do whatever else needed to be done. I did it all. After the heart attack, I couldn't keep up with the house. I couldn't pay the mortgage. My life has changed a lot. I will never be able to do what I used to do. I have to depend on 5 heart medications that I have to take every day in order to survive. This is a letter from one attorney. It would be difficult to prove that the ER physician's conduct rose to the level of gross negligence. No attorney would take my case.
Tort reform involved a specific passage of language that said that a simple negligence standard no longer applied to emergency room care in Texas. The new standard was a gross negligence standard called willful and wanton negligence.
You have to prove in court that that doctor saw me walk through the door and said, that's my next victim. And of course that doesn't happen. And so people like Patricia Whitman, who find themselves in the emergency room and are misdiagnosed or harmed, face almost no ability for accountability. If you look back and you break down the arguments made by the insurance companies and medical industry about the cost, quality, access of healthcare in Texas, by every metric, we're worse off today than we were 10 years ago. It has made life better and easier for a small group of corporate interests at the expense of the rest of us.
These corporations, they have no fear because they know that they're not going to be held responsible. It shouldn't be about money. But unfortunately, that's the only language these people speak. That's why we're out protesting.
We will stand out on the street in front of the facility with signs that state what happened and make sure that they understand that we're not going to go away and that what they did was wrong.
We must restore meaningful accountability in this state so that another family does not go through the same nightmare that they've been through. If enough people in the public say enough is enough, then politicians have to think twice. We're never going to be able to compete with the special interests in terms of campaign contributions and money. Where we have to compete with them is in boots on the ground. The more people that rise up and say, we want our rights back, then they have to think about it. And once we've made them think about it, then half the battle is won.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
450 more American troops to Iraq. I guess that's going to fix the problem once and for all, right? Hey, hello, everybody. What do you say? It's Thursday. How about it? Thursday, June 11. Great to see you today. And thank you for climbing on board the Bill Press bus as we head out from our studio in Capitol Hill, our nation's capital, and move out to you wherever you happen to be in this great land of ours, your home, your office, your car, your place of work, whatever, walking in the park. We're there with you on your local progressive talk radio station. And if you're in front of a TV set, we're there with you on Free Speech TV worldwide. Whatever your electronic device is, we're there with you on TawkrTV YouTube channel, youtube.com/TawkrTV. These are very, very busy days. A lot of last-minute arm twisting and lobbying going on over the Trade Promotion Authority vote, which could come as early as tomorrow. The House leadership says there will be a vote tomorrow. And we always say in parentheses, if they have the votes, there will be a vote tomorrow. Right in the middle of it, Congressman Mark Pocan from Wisconsin's 2nd Congressional District. Great to see you, Congressman.
Well, thank you. Thanks, Bill. Glad to be here.
How are things in Madison?
Awesome as always. It's the best district in the country, without question.
Does every member of Congress say that?
No, funny,
we had a congressman in here just the other day who said the same thing.
I actually had a Republican member of Congress, I won't say their name because I don't want to get them in trouble right now, in the elevator told me, Madison, Wisconsin, best city in the country if you can handle all the liberalism. Because he went to UW-Madison, so I'm like, all right, there you go.
Yeah, it sounds like heaven to me.
It
is a great town. I've enjoyed my visits to Madison. Every time I see you, I say, we got to go back to Madison. Peter, we got to do that.
And now is the time to come. I mean, it's great weather, lakes, everything.
What the hell are we doing here?
Exactly.
Let's get out of here.
And we salute all of our good friends at 92.1 The Mic
shout
out in Madison. Good shout out to the great station there, and to all of your constituents and friends out there,
absolutely,
as well. A little bit later, we're going to be joined by Sister Simone Campbell, head of Nuns on the Bus here as well. Peter, you got a quick...
All right, I just have to... I know you're going to love this.
I have to... Anyhow, I should do this. Peter Ogburn and Lisa Murphy leading our team.
Hey, good morning.
Okay, hold your fire just a second.
You got it.
Jamie Benson's ready to take your calls, and Cyprian Bolding, our videographer. Peter.
So you mentioned all the different ways that you could find the Bill Press Show. You could watch it on TV.
Yes.
You could watch it on the internet. You can listen online. You can listen on your phone. We're everywhere. We're even in Afghanistan. Shout out to Aria, who just tweeted us a little while ago, said, oh my God, the internet is so good in Kabul, I can finally watch the Bill Press Show. It's afternoon there, but she's watching us live in Kabul. So, good afternoon, Aria. Thank you for watching.
Absolutely.
She's got good internet there. You can watch us anywhere you want. Isn't that crazy?
It is.
We're in Afghanistan right now.
Hello, Aria.
And yet in Wisconsin, Scott Walker gave back $27 million to expand broadband. So where I live, I don't have it. I have to have a satellite to bring it in.
Oh, my goodness.
$300 a month for 80 gigs. So it's interesting that people like Scott Walker can break the infrastructure so bad that Afghanistan is performing at faster rates than Wisconsin.
Wow.
Yeah. I think there are a lot of advantages that Afghanistan has over Wisconsin. Number one, they don't have Scott Walker.
Thank you. Yes.
Again, Sister Simone Campbell will be joining us a little bit later. Congressman Mark Pocan here for the first half hour. But first, you got anything else in your quiver there?
Full Court Press.
All right.
Just a couple of other stories making news. An update, Bill, on a story that we talked about yesterday. The photo that went out from the Italian Prime Minister's Instagram account, Matteo Renzi, showed that the president looked like he might have been outside holding what
President
could
Obama.
be... President Obama could be outside holding a pack of cigarettes and pulling what appeared to maybe possibly be a cigarette. I could see it. I'm not saying it definitely looked like it, but it could have been. Well, the White House has responded. Yesterday, the White House press briefing, your friend April Ryan asked the question, was that a pack of cigarettes in his hand? And Josh Earnest says, no, he does not have a pack of cigarettes in his hands, and tried to move on, but April Ryan kind of kept pushing him, and Ernest says, quote, I told you it's not cigarettes, let's move on. So they didn't say what it is, but they did say it's not cigarettes. So
it could have been just a little piece of gum.
It could have been a lot of things.
Yeah.
It could have been a lot of things.
Yeah, all right.
I could have, but
give the guy
again,
a break.
I just
Okay.
see it.
All right, establish it. Not a cigarette.
In Germany, for the second time in 6 days, the United States soccer team has beaten a European soccer power. The United States took on Germany. You know, Germany, the reigning World Cup champions, in an exhibition game yesterday. And a late goal by Bobby Wood put the United States on top 2-1, and that would be your final score. The United States beat the defending World Cup soccer champions yesterday.
It's a big deal.
It's a huge deal.
Yeah.
This is just an exhibition game, so it's not like the World Cup that's going on with the women or anything like that. But
good.
There you go.
The only difference is we were playing soccer, they were playing football.
Right. That's what happens. That's a little lost in translation. And we go to Texas, where a volunteer firefighter by the name of Aaron Von Ripper responded to a 911 call over the weekend. It was a car that had collided head-on with a pickup truck, and when he showed up, turns out the people driving the car was his wife and his 7-year-old son. Everybody's okay. There was a trip to the hospital. There's some broken bones, but he said he showed up on scene to treat the victims, and the victims were his family. He's been tweeting about it and putting photos out of his wife, and also they don't have medical insurance, so they have set up a GoFundMe page. We're going to tweet out a link at BP Show. If you want to go help out the family, you can check it out there at BP Show.
Worst nightmare, right? Get a call like that and then
show up and that's
somebody you know, let alone your wife and your son. Whoa. So, Congressman, let me ask you, before we get to Trade Promotion Authority, the president's sending 450 more troops to Iraq yesterday. They're just advisors only. Is this going to make any difference?
I tell you, it doesn't sound like June 11th. It sounds like early February, Groundhog's Day, right? This is how we get involved in these things. And, even yesterday, there were a few amendments we had on the defense appropriations around funding in Afghanistan and Syria and Iraq. A lot of us just see this as the wrong way to go. And we have valid concerns.
Yeah, it does. Other people have said, too, it sounds a lot like Vietnam, right? We just send the advisors, and pretty soon, boom. Plus, we've been at this now for 10 months with 3,100 Americans there, right? As if another 450 is going to turn the tide.
And really, we've been at this for almost 15 years, thanks to the Bush family. And that's all part of the problem. And how many dollars later and how many lives later, and we're still almost starting back again in the country.
All right, so I have never heard so much crowing in Washington, I think, since I've been here the last 16 years or so, from the Republicans, Paul Ryan, John Boehner, Kevin McCarthy, from the White House, Josh Earnest, President Obama. They're all saying, we got the votes, man, and we're going to get it, and that's why we scheduled a vote on Friday. We are so confident that now we have enough Republicans and a few Democrats, but enough to pass the Trade Promotion Authority, giving the president fast-track authority. Are they blowing smoke, or do they have the votes?
I think they've been blowing smoke all week to try to secure the votes, right? Because it's the bravado of Washington. It's kind of like my 11-pound dog barks a lot to try to let you know how tough it is. Right. And in reality, we'll find out. But they've been doing a lot of horse trading. There's a lot of rumors going on between the TPA, the fast-track bill, the TAA, the Trade Adjustment Authority, that there'll be a fix allegedly to the $700 billion cut to Medicare to pay for that, that there's going to be an Africa trade bill, a customs bill, and between those four votes, those four bills, they'll somehow fix the devastating, $700 billion cut to Medicare and pass this thing along with a whole bunch of ornaments for every Republican that pounded their chest on some issue they didn't like, and there'll be a lip service amendment that won't really address it, but they've been conned into thinking that. We'll see if that secures enough votes, but I can tell you, you know how it is. If you've got the votes, you're going to run them, and you don't necessarily buy this extra time. So we've got a couple caucuses today to figure out where things exactly are at. A lot of fast-moving parts. Bottom line is Labor is still saying that if you vote for the trade adjustment assistance that cuts Medicare, even if another bill fixes it, you voted for that. And if you remember all the commercials, we had a little reel we showed people of voting against Medicare for different issues that they claim. This is a commercial that people will have hung around their necks, Democrat or Republican, regardless of whatever excuse. If you have to explain in 4 different votes you somehow didn't do what you did in one vote, you're in explaining mode, and that's a bad place to be.
Well, there are several stories today that of all these unrelated issues that are being now so Republicans see, gee, we might be able to get this Trade Promotion Authority. So let's let's glue everything else possibly we can to it. Like Paul Ryan has an amendment dealing with climate change.
Mm-hmm.
Pete King, something to do with customs. Now you got this vote on cutting Medicare, all right? And they're all loading that on board.
Well, the Medicare was the funding source for the trade adjustment assistance, but it didn't get a lot of attention in the Senate, and it's gotten a lot more attention at the House level because we've seen the commercials. People like Ron Barber, who I have a lot of respect for, who isn't back, unfortunately, because he lost from Arizona, had commercials against him for voting on something they alleged was a $700 billion cut in Medicare. I mean, this is what happens when you mess around with things like Social Security and Medicare. Even if they claim they fix it in another vote, we know what's going to happen. So we're trying to tell the more undecided members who are still savvy enough that they'd like to not have to face those kind of attacks. You will if you vote for that. So just understand, if this thing was at all good on its own merits, you wouldn't have to have 4 different bills moving various parts of it.
The math that I have heard is that Boehner could get maybe, he wasn't quite, he needed 200, and there were 17 Democrats, and Leader Pelosi had told John Boehner, well, we're not going to get you any more Democrats. You've got to get up to 200 to get to 217, 200 Republicans. So 17 Democrats, that was last week. How many today?
That's the official count from last week. But our count, we've been keeping a much tighter count, those of us who are whipping this. It's about 21 to 22 affirmative votes, but we've been told they had one.
When it comes down to vote, there'll be 21 or 22.
As of now, with about 11 people in the undecided category.
Still 11 undecided.
Still 11 undecided. And one we've been hearing, unless some of the new ornament hanging has changed this, 187 to 188 votes on the Republican side for it, which if you start doing the math, that means they need about 8 more from us, 9 more from us, which would be, having to take the bulk of the undecideds and move them into their column. That's a lot of work to still do that. So
for the most part, the Democratic caucus has hung together against trade promotion.
Democratic caucus in the House has been very strong in realizing that this is bad for American jobs. This will depress our wages here. This gives away our sovereignty through the tribunals of the investor state dispute settlement process, on and on. We've been really solid, and we're going to hopefully remain to be as solid in the following 24 hours.
What is your response to the charge that this just proves that Democrats, liberals, progressives are against trade?
No, at the Progressive Caucus, we've actually put out principles of trade, which includes things like having an enforcement mechanism for the laws in labor and environmental chapters. Just for example, 4 years ago, we passed the Columbia Free Trade Law. I'm now on a working group that's dealing with the implementation. All the letter of the law has been put into Columbian law, but there's been no actual implementation. So over 100 labor leaders have been killed since we've passed that trade law. And that's the reality when you don't have enforcement. So we've got certain principles we've put out there. Sandy Levin has put out a very similar sort of list of principles. We want trade. No one's against trade. It's good for the economy, but you want it to be trade that doesn't cost us jobs and doesn't depress our wages. And that means you have to have certain standards around labor and the environment. You have to have some equal access to dispute settlement measures, not this one measure for multinational companies and a whole other measure for anyone in a labor violation. You can have a reasonable trade deal, and if we defeat Fast Track, they have to come and talk to us about having it. Right now, we haven't been included up to this point. 600 people have, largely a lot of corporate CEOs, and now they're telling us to give away any future ability to amend it through Fast Track. So we've been shut out. When you shut out Congress, you shut out the American people. So we're just trying to have the American people's voices be heard by having us have any input.
And the voices of the American people through their representatives in Congress will not be heard if you give away Fast Track authority.
No, absolutely not. And the worst part is we'll look back 4 or 5 years from now and wonder why we're losing more manufacturing and service sector jobs and why wages are still stagnant. That's the problem, and I don't want to have that 5 years. I mean, if we adjust it now, if we defeat this now, we can then say we want these standards in place or else.
High noon in Washington this week could be as early as tomorrow on the Fast Track Authority. Congressman Mark Pocan, one of the whips against TPA, standing up to his own president, standing up on behalf of American working families. Here's your chance to get your comments and your suggestions maybe for the last 24 hours of this fight. 866-55-PRESS. We'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, friends and neighbors, good show so far. A little time out here for most important message. And I got one big word for you today. Please, please, please make your pledge to Free Speech TV. Look, we're really frustrated. I'm feeling frustrated because we're toward the end of our pledge drive and just nowhere near the goal where we've got to be. And I know you don't want that to happen. I know you don't want Free Speech TV to run out of gas. We know you love Free Speech TV, but we're not feeling that love, not seeing it. We're just nowhere close to our goal, not hitting the mark. So I ask you to please don't put it off any longer. Step up to the plate, make your pledge as generously as you can to help us meet our goal. Remember, our goal for every show here on the Bill Press Show is $1,500. Hey, that's not that much. Think about it. You know, it's 15 of you. If 15 of you give $100, we're there. 30 of you can give $50, we're there. Or think of it this way, the price of one night out for dinner for 2 of you, you got a whole year of the great programming on Free Speech TV. But it really, really is urgent because, once again, you are Free Speech TV. We are, you are, there ain't nobody else. There's no government funding we can count on, no foundation funding, no corporate funding, no Koch brothers funding. It's just the partnership that we've got, and we've really got to keep that going. And we'll try to make it worth your while. Just to give you a little maybe incentive to help us out today. Remember our premiums this time. If for $60, we'll send you this for your one-time pledge of $60. This stamp, not to be used for bribing politicians. You can have a lot of fun with that with your friends. $120 if you help us with that. We'll send you a copy of John Nichols' book, Dollarocracy, about all the evil of money in politics and how we get rid of it. For $240, you get the stamp and the book. And for $360, you get the stamp. Can't be used for bribing politicians. Dollarocracy by John Nichols and a Free Speech TV baseball cap. If you can help with $1,000, a real special treat, come to Washington, see the monuments, get to the White House, get to the Capitol, and most importantly, Carol and I will take you out to dinner at one of our great restaurants on Capitol Hill, and then invite you in to join the crew the next morning, meet the team, have some district donuts, and enjoy the show. But the most important thing is we need your help to make your pledge as generously as you can. We know not everybody can do all the same, but whatever you can, your one-time pledge for Free Speech TV. Don't be a freeloader. Don't be just a couch potato. If you enjoy the program, and we know you do, then do your share to keep Free Speech TV on the air and keep me and Stephanie Miller and Tom Hartman and Amy Goodman and David Packman and all the rest of the great Free Speech TV hosts in your home every single day. Please help. Please do it today. You know the number, 877-378-8669, or just go to freespeech.org. Please help, and we thank you.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
This is the Bill Press Show.
25 minutes after the hour, Sister Simone Campbell, head of Nuns on the Bus, coming up in the next half hour. Right now we're talking legislative strategy on the TPA, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and the Fast Track Authority with Congressman Mark Pocan from Wisconsin. But I got to switch gears here for just a second, Congressman, because you just had your big state Democratic state convention in Wisconsin over the last weekend. And Russ Feingold, who's one of my heroes, the only senator to vote against the Patriot Act, and now we see all the problems with the Patriot Act. Russ Feingold was right. But he's coming back.
Yeah, this is huge news for us. I mean, Wisconsin is going to be one of the most important seats in the country to pick up in 2016 in the Senate. Russ Feingold, when he lost, people never didn't like Russ Feingold. It was 2010 when everyone went down. And we just saw there's been 2 polls. One, he was up 9 points over Ron Johnson. The other one, he was double digits over Ron Johnson.
Incumbent Senator Ron Johnson.
Now, that will shrink, so we know it's still a very competitive race. But Russ is a great candidate. People really respected him. A maverick in the very best of ways, and he's the one who warned us about campaign finance reform and about the Patriot Act. To go down the list of his history, having him back is of enormous help to us, not only in Wisconsin, but for those of us who have to work in Washington.
And he's definitely going to run, has he said?
Yes, he's announced, and I'll tell you, there couldn't have been any more enthusiasm in that room than having Russ there, and it's just really great. We are very excited to have him.
Now, the other news that came out of your convention with the straw poll that Hillary Clinton got a little shocker. She won with 49%, but Bernie Sanders came in with 41%.
Yeah, it was interesting. Now just, for full disclosures, 2 things I'll say. One is they had 500 ballots, and when they were done, that was it. So it wasn't exactly scientific.
Yeah.
But to be fair, Bernie didn't work that at all. It happened organically from the convention
I don't even think he knew
delegates.
It was taking place.
Probably not. It was just because this is by a website, WisPolitics, that did it. And so it was a very interesting, result. And, I think that tells you a little bit about messaging. I mean, I think Bernie's got a message that I'm starting to see Hillary actually adopt a lot of very progressive stances right now on things like minimum wage and other issues. This is why you want primaries, right? And I think in the end, hopefully we have the strongest nominee come through a process because we have a primary.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think Bernie, it's resonating, the issues that he's talking about, right? And he's just focusing on the issues. He's not doing any attacks on anybody else, just talking about...
Yeah, and these are the people's issues.
Yeah. All right, well, Congressman, 24 hours to carry the day here and shoot down Trans-Pacific Fast Track. Hope you can do it. Thanks so much.
Thank you. We'll do our best.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, folks, just a little time out. Hope you're enjoying the show today. A little time out here to tell you again and get your about Free Speech TV and get your help. And, we reach out to you, all of our viewers around the country during these pledge drives, ask you to help. And we're so grateful when you do. And it's very rare, though. We get a chance to thank one of you actually in person. So we welcome to the show today and to our studio Craig Tepfer, all the way from Chelsea, Michigan, a regular Free Speech viewer and a very generous contributor to Free Speech. Craig, it's good to see you.
It's good to be here, Bill.
Thank you for coming in all the way from Chelsea, Michigan. I know last year we met because you were made a $1,000 pledge. You and your daughter came. Carol and I, we all went out to dinner together. Had a good time. That was a lot of fun.
Had a great time.
Right. And it's good to see you back. So tell us again, why do you really like Free Speech TV?
Free speech to me is the dream come true. It's television without commercials, plain and simple.
Yeah. And you like the people and obviously in the content on Free Speech?
All of the regular programs plus all of the special programs you can't find anyplace else on the television set.
It's the one progressive television channel people don't realize is maybe in the country, right? 24/7, where you can always count on going there and hearing good stuff from a progressive point of view.
This is true. It's 24 hours a day. All of the programs are great to watch, intellectually stimulating, and have great progressive concepts.
Well, we wouldn't be here without people like you, and I want to thank you again personally. And you're back today because you want to make another pledge and challenge people to meet it, right?
That's right. I would like to pledge a half of my net worth, 0.5% of my net worth, to match the Koch brothers' donation to the GOP. So I am committing $500.
Great.
To the Free Speech TV, and hope that your listeners can match that.
I think that's a great challenge. All right, so there you go. There's $500 from Craig Tepfer today. You can match that yourself, or a couple of you, 2 or 3 of you, get together, get your family members together, and match this pledge so Craig doesn't feel alone. And we have the help we need on free speech to get going. And, of course, you know the way to do so, Craig, you certainly do, is give us a call at 877-378-8669. Number again, 877-378-8669. Or just go to freespeech.org, freespeech.org. And, Craig, the other thing I want to congratulate you on, you are a pioneer in solar energy. I know you have a solar-powered car right now. So you're doing so many great things. You know,
I've been doing this for most of my life, wind and solar energy, and supporting environmental groups and organizations that promote solar energy.
Well, it's so good of you to do that, and so good of you to come in. And thanks again for your help for Free Speech TV. And match Craig Tepfer's $500 grant. Thank you, Craig.
It's so important. Thank you.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
Here we go at 33 minutes after the hour. Thursday, June 11, the Bill Press Show here on your local progressive talk radio station. We are there with you nationwide and also coast to coast on Free Speech TV worldwide. All the way to Afghanistan, we learned this morning.
Right.
Here we are on TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. And we're brought to you today by the American Federation of Teachers, the good men and women of the AFT, our Teachers of America under President Randy Weingarten, doing a great job in our classrooms every day. We salute them. They're doing the Lord's work, and we thank them for their support of the program. And speaking of doing the Lord's work, nobody does it better than Sister Simone Campbell, who is the head of executive director for Network, and we know her as the head of the Nuns on the Bus. Hello, sister. It's great to see you again.
Oh, great to be back.
You are so busy.
It's crazy.
Even when you're not on the bus, you're busy with many different issues. What are you working on these days? I want to talk to you about the Pope and his visit and his encyclical coming up.
Sure.
What are the priorities now? A little segue here. Congressman Mark Pocan was talking about the Trade Promotion Authority.
We're working hard on it.
This is also something that Network is involved in.
We're working really hard on that, trying to stop it, because there are two key issues. One is the fact it doesn't protect small rural economies and people in those economies. And what we know is undocumented migration happens because of trade agreements. That's why we had the kids on the border last summer. That's forced people off the land. And, Bill, that there are land grabs in these countries where there's not a tradition of having a paper deed. And so what corporations do, big multinational corporations do, is come in, pay a bit of money to the government, and come out with a deed and force people off their land. So this is wrong. It's the wrong way forward, and we're trying to make sure that small rural economies are protected. The other thing we're working really hard on...
That's an issue, by the way, I haven't heard anybody else talk about, but a very real issue impacting very real people.
People. And, this whole trade agreement is being argued that it's so good for the United States. Well, the fact is it's not, because it creates undocumented migration to our country, and then we refuse to fix our migration laws. So we have this problem that we refuse to address, so it only makes it worse for people. So we've got to make those changes. The other thing that we're working really hard on is the Earned Income Tax Credit and the Child Tax Credit, which the corporations are putting a lot of pressure right now, on these moving trains. Anything that's getting done is one of the deals that might be cut with trade is to get the renewable credits to corporations for things like, research and development, all the corporate giveaways, corporate welfare. Well, we're saying if you give away things to corporations, you got to at least take care of the people. So we're trying to make permanent their earned income tax credit. So those are our two big agendas right now.
Yeah, I mean, that you would think that would just be a given, right? You have to take care of the corporations to take care of the people, but no. Some people see.
No. That's so nice, sister. We don't have enough money.
We don't have enough money for the others.
Right. But they're not even doing pay-fors for these corporate giveaways because, of course, they're going to make jobs or they're going to do something good someplace.
Trickle down.
Oh my gosh! And how many years have we been waiting for trickle? Yes.
Now. Sister Carol and I were in Cuba a couple of weeks ago. There is a lot of excitement in Cuba because the Pope is coming to Cuba in September.
Exactly, just before he comes here.
But the Pope is coming here as well. What can we expect of his visit here?
Well, that's the crystal ball question. It's so exciting. Everybody wants the Pope to say their thing. But I really think what we're going to see is a continuation of his economic analysis as well as his integration of the economy with the environmental issues. And so that for the Pope, it's wonderful because he doesn't compartmentalize the way we do here in D.C. He sees it as a single fabric and says we're all in this together. We need to make a difference. And I really think he's going to speak strongly to that reality.
And he's going to address a joint session of Congress, correct?
Yes,
right?
September 24th. I can hardly wait.
Is that it? Yeah,
yes.
And he's not going to hold back. I mean, he doesn't have to run for re-election, right? He doesn't have to please one side or the other. He's just going to be himself, I would imagine.
Well, that's what I imagine, too. And he's a challenge for both sides. And the thing that he said in Joy of the Gospel, the document that he issued a year and a half ago, is that the challenge for progressives is that we shouldn't look at the safety net issues as the end-all and be-all, but rather that we have to work at the structural change as well as provide the safety net temporarily. And then the critique for the conservatives is, well, you cannot continue this economy the way it is because it is creating the gap. It's preferencing the rich. And he says inequality is the source of all social ill. It's fabulous. I can hardly wait.
I look forward to hearing him in his address to the joint session of Congress on September 24th speak about climate change. We don't have to wait till then because a week from today, June 18, the Pope's encyclical on climate change is due to be released. And there have been a few little leaks along the way. I mean, we know for sure he sees this as an important issue, a moral issue, and climate change being real, and we have to do something about it.
Absolutely.
Right?
And the other piece is that I don't know if all your listeners know is that he is a scientist. He has a master's in chemistry and was a chemist before he joined the Jesuits. So he's the first pope to really come at this both with a good understanding of the science as well as the spiritual reality that we've got to take care of this small blue planet of ours. And I understand that the subtitle of the encyclical Praised Be is Caring for Our Common Home.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool?
It is cool, right. And the Praised Be comes from the Canticle of Creatures,
right?
Written by St. Francis of Assisi, his patron saint. So this is going to shake it up with a lot of the Catholic bishops too, right? Who are not quite there yet.
Oh, our poor bishops. They're trying. They're struggling. But I don't think they've really noticed that climate change is an issue, is a moral issue and is a spiritual issue that they need to lead on. So I don't know that they're climate deniers so much as the politicians. That's more political sound bites. But I think for them, they just haven't seen it as central to their ministry. And hopefully this will be a step forward.
Well, speaking of climate deniers, one of them, as you know, former Senator Rick Santorum, a very active Roman Catholic, right, and a climate denier, has said, I mean, he said this almost word for word, that the Pope doesn't have any business talking about climate change. He ought to stick to theology and morality. And there are more important issues that he ought to be talking about.
I know, as if the issue of climate wasn't a moral issue for what's happening in the
That was
earth.
my response. There are more important issues. Name one.
Exactly. Excuse me. The seas are rising, and you may lose part of Pennsylvania if you don't pay attention. So, but I think the other piece that he did say was that it should be left to scientists.
And again,
if he knew who the Pope was, perhaps he wouldn't have said that. So.
Right. But so that we should stick to theology and morality. I mean,
see, this is the real problem, Bill, is the individualization. And this is an extension of the Republican approach that any individual does is only about the individual. So they have no clue that there's just a societal morality where we need to care for each other. They missed that lesson in Catholic social teaching. And so
right.
We're trying.
And the Pope, in effect, is saying that I mean, I think he's going to assert that dealing with climate change is a moral imperative.
Well, yes, it's moral and it's common sense. I mean, it's really nice when the two go together like that. So.
Isn't it, though?
Yes.
Yeah. The other thing I wonder, you point out whether Santorum knew that the Pope was a scientist or a chemist. I wonder whether Santorum, he must know that this is not the first time that popes have spoken out on important issues facing the world.
Exactly.
I mean,
well, I mean, Leo XIII in 1891 on the Industrial Revolution, Rerum Novarum, his letter that really spoke about the moral issues about organizing society and practices in industry. Those were moral issues that were probably as shocking for their time.
Asserting the right of workers to form a union, right to organize, asserting the right of workers to get a living wage, which we still haven't achieved.
We're in serious trouble in that in
we're
this
still
country
talking
now.
Minimum wage rather than living wage, right? But you go into that quadragesimo anno. I mean, people there have been encyclicals about the Vietnam War, World War II.
Even Pope Benedict had Caritas in Veritate, where he spoke in a very academic way, but spoke very clearly about the right to organize, the right to a living wage, the importance of society organizing itself to benefit the common good. So.
Now, do we have another bus trip planned? Are we?
Well, that's the $64,000 question. I don't know. The big question, somebody told me the other day, well, the bus has to greet the Pope, as if the bus is another person.
Right.
So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Stay tuned. It will depend if we can figure out a way to really effectively use it, and then it'll depend if we can raise the money to make it happen.
Well,
but we'll see.
We'll try to help with that here. Yeah, right. Networklobby.org. We have that bus to be rolling. The bus needs gas. Bus might need some new tires. Networklobby.org. I want to see that bus, sister, right in front of the Capitol.
Oh.
When the Pope arrives. Wouldn't it be nice right there at the foot of the steps? Or maybe have the Pope arrive in the bus.
Whoa, even better. I love it. Love it.
All right.
I think he would like being on the bus.
All right. Your thoughts about the Pope coming here and the good nuns on the bus with Sister Simone Campbell. 866-55-PRESS is the toll-free number. Join the conversation. How often do you get to speak to Sister Simone Campbell, the nuns on the bus? All right, friends and neighbors, good show so far. Little time out here for a most important message. And I got one big word for you today. Please, please, please make your pledge to Free Speech TV. Look, we're really frustrated. I'm feeling frustrated because we're toward the end of our pledge drive and just nowhere near the goal where we've got to be. And I know you don't want that to happen. I know you don't want Free Speech TV to run out of gas. We know you love Free Speech TV, but we're not feeling that love, not seeing it. We're just nowhere close to our goal, not hitting the mark. So I ask you to please don't put it off any longer. Step up to the plate, make your pledge as generously as you can to help us meet our goal. Remember, our goal for every show here on the Bill Press Show is $1,500. Hey, that's not that much. Think about it. You know, it's 15 of you. If 15 of you give $100, we're there. 30 of you can give $50, we're there. Or think of it this way, the price of one night out for dinner for two of you, you got a whole year of the great programming on Free Speech TV. But it really, really is urgent because, once again, you are Free Speech TV. We are, you are, there ain't nobody else. There's no government funding. we can count on. No foundation funding, no corporate funding, no Koch brothers funding. It's just the partnership that we've got, and we've really got to keep that going. And we'll try to make it worth your while. Just to give you a little maybe incentive to help us out today. Remember our premiums this time. If for $60, we'll send you this for your one-time pledge of $60. This stamp, not to be used for bribing politicians. You can have a lot of fun with that with your friends. $120 if you help us with that. We'll send you a copy of John Nichols' book, Dollarocracy, about all the evil of money in politics and how we get rid of it. For $240, you get the stamp and the book. And for $360, you get the stamp. Can't be used for bribing politicians. Dollarocracy by John Nichols, and a Free Speech TV baseball cap. If you can help with $1,000, a real special treat, come to Washington, see the monuments, get to the White House, get to the Capitol, and most importantly, Carol and I will take you out to dinner at one of our great restaurants on Capitol Hill, and then invite you in to join the crew the next morning, meet the team, have some district donuts, and enjoy the show. But the most important thing is we need your help to make your pledge as generously as you can. We know not everybody can do all the same, but whatever you can, your one-time pledge for Free Speech TV. Don't be a freeloader. Don't be just a couch potato. If you enjoy the program, and we know you do, then do your share to keep Free Speech TV on the air and keep me and Stephanie Miller and Tom Hartman and Amy Goodman and David Packman and all the rest of the great Free Speech TV hosts in your home every single day. Please help. Please do it today. You know the number, 877-378-8669, or just go to freespeech.org. Please help, and we thank you.
The most valuable morning radio show, according to The Nation magazine. This is The Bill Press Show.
12 minutes before the top of the hour, so pleased to have in studio with us a great occasion and a rare treat to visit with Sister Simone Campbell. Remember her book, A Nun on the Bus, still out there, and Sister came in and talked about the book when it came out. She's the executive director for Network and the organizer of Nuns on the Bus. And you can follow them and provide any help that they need. I mean, it keeps... this is not a hugely funded corporate lobby.
To say the least.
To say the least, right? So seriously, networklobby.org is where you can find them online and provide any help that you can to this effort, either to get the bus moving again or just for their ongoing work. Sister, let's say hello to Tim out in Aurora, Illinois. Hi, Tim.
Good morning. I just was excited to hear the Pope was supportive of union rights, because I do believe that if unions were to address the 21st century, person, instead of kind of living in the past labor movement, that we could unionize, tons of places, and unions should take care of their members first, and then worry about politics and other issues second and third, because millions of dollars are sent from unions to things that do not really benefit the members.
Okay.
And if we were to care for members first, I think it would just be an exciting thing to think.
All right, sort of another issue, but the popes and the Catholic Church has always been very good on that issue.
Oh, absolutely. And actually, I think the piece that gets missed, Tim, is that in the political climate of right now, that in order to protect the rights of workers, political activism is required, and that's the huge challenge that they're facing. Yes, they want to care for their members, but they can't care for their members if they're being politically undermined. So it's a combination.
Right. And I want to go back to climate change for a while, because for a moment here, because again, with the encyclical coming up, I mean, this is a message that will, what are the 1.2 billion Catholics on
and
the
counting.
Yes. And counting, right? But this is a message that will go far beyond the Catholic community.
Oh, absolutely. And it is a message to the entire world, because our small home that we live on, the small blue planet, we're all connected. And so what one does in one part of the world impacts us here. China's use of coal and our use of coal impacts the rest of the world. And so what we have to do is see it as an integrated system. The thing we're going to focus on at Network is the fact that low income and people living in poverty are the ones most adversely impacted by environmental degradation. And so we care about it not only for purposes of caring for ourselves by making our planet healthy, but also because it so adversely impacts low-income people with Bangladesh and waters rising, with pollution, with lack of water, with lack of employment. Often in low-income communities in the United States, they're in the most polluted areas, lead paint abatement, because people live in old houses, in poor housing. They have to use more heat in the winter and try to use some air conditioning in the summer. It costs less. It uses more energy. It's the wrong way forward. So poor people pay the price all the time.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people try to create this clash as if the two clash between the environment and the economy, where really one depends on the other.
Absolutely. We're in this together. And the compartmentalization has been done, I think, to try to play off movements against each other, which then weakens us, which is wrong. What we have to do is just say, yes, I'm doing my part. If you do yours, and we can be together, we can stand together on these things, then we can really have an impact.
And again, back to Santorum, who says the Pope shouldn't be talking about this. I wonder if he ever read the book of Genesis. Because that's...
Good point. Good point.
I mean, there's the message, and it's pretty clear. It's the first, I think it's second chapter, maybe verse 15 of Genesis, which says, and God created the earth and put man on the earth to take care of it.
Right,
it's right there. So,
well, but Bill, what you have to know is some of the translations say to subdue the earth, and I think it's that approach that it's ours to suck everything out. One of the key teachings within.
But if we do so, we do it at our
peril. Absolutely, and the fact is, we have a responsibility not only for ourselves but for future generations. So it's not just all about us. It's about those who come after us.
That's the message, and nobody delivers it better than Sister Simone Campbell. God, it's so good to see you.
It's great to see you.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I'm going to get the bus rolling again.
All right. A little gas money and
the
we'll
vice
be on the
president was out there in Iowa. He helped launch the last trip.
He did. And with the vice president, we really have to keep his family in prayer. They're so sad with the death of Bo, his son. And so I think really being mindful of the humanity of the people that hold these important offices. They need care.
Thank you so much for coming in, sister. And don't forget, Network Lobby, networklobby.org is where you can keep up with the good work of the network and the Nuns on the Bus and Sister Simone Campbell day in and day out. We'll see you again soon.
Good. Look forward to it. Thank you much.
This is the Bill Press Show.
We came here to Foster City, where we're going to watch UC Berkeley, a University of California SWAT team, do a hostage rescue scenario.
Should I put the water in there now?
Yeah, go ahead. This is like some kind of chemical agent?
Yeah. Copy, we're ready. I'm gonna get shot. I already know it, dude. Feeney's yelling at me. Help me. Shoot your hands. Help me. Shoot your hands. Back away.
Gentlemen, we have a chemical. We need to pull our person out. Get these guys out of here. Pull them out. Put your hands on your face. Keep him covered.
Your head up. He's got a shotgun back there.
That's all right. Keep his hands up where we can.
Hands on your face.
Hands on your face. On your face.
Someone cover me. I got a holster up, bro.
Okay, pull him around the corner. Pick him up. Get him out of the building. Quickly. We've got this. Just get that guy out of there. You, come towards us. Keep your hands on your face. Turn around. Face away from us. Back towards us. Quickly. Back up towards me. Quickly, quickly, quickly. Pull him out of the room. We're exfilling, Billy? Yes, we are exfilling.
It was actually around 92, 94. There was an attack on the chancellor at his residence, which is on campus.
Okay.
And we realized at the time that we didn't have any resources to deal with that kind of threat when it took place.
Okay.
So, and I think about 15 years before, they had some kind of semblance of a SWAT team. So they regenerated the idea of
I see.
activating a SWAT team.
And then since then, you guys have kind of branched out to doing what kind of stuff?
Well, since then, we train for everything. We train for every eventuality, barricaded subjects. Like I said, most of what we do is high-risk warrants.
Okay. And it's something like, it could be like a mugging kind of thing, just like on the street?
Depends.
Or
I mean,
like
a mugging, but if it's armed, particularly.
Right, an armed mugging, yeah.
Right,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay.
And then, obviously, we're looking for training for anything else that we might be faced with. And that's what's great about Urban Shield is, we couldn't duplicate this on our own.
The Parting Shot with Bill Press. This is the Bill Press Show.
Well, we know 5 days ago, President Obama said, we don't yet have a complete strategy against ISIS, and yesterday he proved it. Right. White House announcing we're sending 450 more American troops to Iraq as advisors only to join 3,100 American troops already there as advisors only. Of course, that's what we were told in Vietnam, that American troops initially sent to Vietnam were advisors only, and we know how that ended up. But after 10 months of airstrikes against ISIS, sending 450 more troops to do the same thing 3,100 troops have been doing for the last 10 months with little success is not going to change anything. And sending more troops, which is what John McCain wants, would be even more of a mistake. In an interview this week, I was asked, what's the best strategy against ISIS? And I answered honestly, I don't know. That's above my pay grade. But you and I both know this. Our current strategy of depending on the Iraqi government, the Iraqi military, and the so-called Syrian moderates is not working. We better try something else. That's my parting shot for today, folks. Have a great Thursday. Come back and see us again with Clinton Yates
This is
tomorrow.
the Bill Press Show.